All right, we're live. Welcome to Utter Chaos episode 13. We got author Stephen Walton, uh, an author working on a really cool project. And as soon as I heard about it, I started following, like, I gotta get this guy on. I gotta expose him to the audience I have, and hopefully he gets traction, gets subs, people support him, and makes it a worthwhile project. And we got Vinny Tartamal as well on his second campaign, Indiegogo. Fairly new creator for Comicsgate, and the Red Gaze, who has gotten a direct shout out on Twitter by EVS, something I have not had the privilege of. So I'm a little jealous, but I'm glad that I've been a part of helping him succeed so far, so fast. So great panel. Start with Steven. What do you want to say to the audience? And just whatever.
Hey guys, how you doing? I'm here for real this time. Made a mistake earlier and popped in on a live stream. I wasn't supposed to for a minute, but I guess noobs make mistakes, so I just showed my colors. Hi to everybody, and welcome to the stream.
Hey man.
How about you, Vinny?
Yeah, I'm a freelance artist. I'm sharing my new campaign. I'm also the co-creator of Through the Woods. So yeah, when we get a chance, I'm happy to start showing this off to all you guys.
Yeah, Vinny's art's really good. I actually backed the Through the Woods, and look forward to hopefully being able, because I'm also want to get Vestige, so we'll see. But yeah, we got some people in chat. Got the Senate. He's been really great as of late. Jumped on his live streams. Rosie Wren, Patriarch of the Sith. He said moo, and I said moo all. Snowdove should be coming in soon. Rhodes Rance has popped in. Red Gaze. Say hi to the audience. Tell us a little bit about yourself, and if you've been following Steven or not.
Hello, audience. I am an absolute nobody trying to be somebody. And yes, I've been following Steven quite a bit, actually, recently. We've had some conversations here and there, and I'm digging what he's doing. And I'm also digging Vinny's artwork. Vinny's amazing.
Yeah. No, it's really good. I hopefully I actually have a Comicsgate project I'm slowly developing. I'll take my time, give you quality, but I've already talked to Vinny, at least as a consultant, for me to understand more of the industry going forward, if this becomes a real thing. But yeah, it's great to have people in the chat, and great to be with Steven. Now, Steven, before we get deep into your book, I know there was something you just want to get off your chest or something going on with Nerdrotic. I've only seen a little bit on Twitter. I haven't followed up. I don't know if he's updated us on his channel, but inform us.
Well, yesterday I saw a tweet from Stephanie Janicek, who's helping me write my book. She actually did a chapter for me, and apparently Brian Young has been sniffing around her LinkedIn account. And she knows this because she pays for her LinkedIn, so she can see who's looking at her profile and who's looking into her. And Brian Young popped up twice recently. And as we know from what he did with Anthony Ergo, that he's trying to dox a lot of the people in our community, just trying to attack us. He took what he did to Anthony was basically made him have to reveal himself as Ruin the Man Baby, and which led to a conversation between us that led to him writing the foreword for the Fandom Menace Volume 1, which I'm very proud of. And he sent it to me last week, and I'm really thankful that a writer of his caliber lended his creativity to this book. But, it cost him some professional relationships, a con that he went to. Brian Young got in contact with some of his bosses from the past, trying to confirm who he was, this piece of crap. And now he's going after Stephanie. Stephanie's got, 1.5 thousand subscribers. She's a relatively small channel, but, apparently she's worthy enough of his attention to try and come after her. For people that constantly talk about how they respect women, and how they're trying to fight for equality and representation and all that, they have no problem. Brian Young has no problem going after a woman, trying to attack a woman if they don't agree with his narrative or the Disney Lucasfilm narrative under Kathleen Kennedy's company culture. So much so that they even got their bots going after Gary Buechler and going after his wife's Yelp page for her business, completely separate from Gary. I'm not friends with Gary. I don't talk to Gary. We've never communicated. I'm a fan of his channel. I'm a fan of Exozone. And again, for people that talk so much about representation and respecting women and always believe women and Me Too and all that, they have no problem going after a woman if they do not follow their narrative. And again, hypocrisy and bullshit coming out of that camp, coming out of the SJWs. And thank you, Justin M, the jerk who wrote that bad review calling Nerd Erotic a sexist and a racist. Calling him a sexist while you're attacking his wife. Yeah, good job, douchebag. And thanks, Brian Young, for going after Stephanie Janicic. I appreciate that. You're adding more fuel to my book. I already got a chapter on you, dumbass, chasing around teenagers in your Raylo chats. You sick piece of junk. Thank you very much for helping me out. I'm going to monetize your stupid ass. That's all I got to say.
No, I loved it when you were like, oh, you see with this and that. I was thinking of I love Alex Jones rants, especially there's this band I'm always shilling every once in a while called the Alex Jones Prison Planet band. And all they do is they make really awesome metal music and they put tracks of Alex over it. I'm just like, you listen, you globalist scum, and I'm just like, yeah, it's got the same fire. I love it, you know. No, don't take that comparison as like, oh, he thinks I'm a wacko. That's not the thing. It's just the intensity got me going.
Yeah, I mean, we've dealt with so much, all of us, in all our communities, not just the Star Wars fandom, but the Star Trek fandom, the Doctor Who fandom, now the Batman fandom with Batwoman, you know, like the Marvel fandom. We have dealt with so much bullshit rhetoric coming out of these camps, of these privileged millionaires who are completely disconnected from the working class, who have everything to say about how we live our lives when they don't know us for a damn, when they're getting patted on the head when they take a dump. Good boy, good girl, Bree, good girl, nice push. You know, you're going to try and tell us how to live our lives. You're going to tell us how we enjoy our entertainment, these franchises that we have loved and invested our lives in. You know, just really short. I want to go on a short rant. My dad loves Star Trek. He brought me up on Star Trek. You know, he brought me up on TOS, and we started watching TNG together. Like, that's where I get my love of Star Trek. My dad, for most of his life, was a racist, straight up racist. Heard words and terms come out of this man's mouth when I was a young kid that I was like, Dad, you shouldn't be saying that. And my stepmom, thankfully, would say, Steven, stop saying that in front of the kids. You know, he a lifelong racist. But when he watched Star Trek TOS and he saw Lieutenant Uhura, he didn't see a black woman. He didn't see a black woman unless it was a part of the story, unless her being black was essential to the story. He never saw that. And then when TNG came out, he fell in love with Mr. Worf, Michael Dorn. When he watched Michael Dorn play Worf, he did not see a black guy. And what the SJWs don't understand is that these types of mediums have always been inclusive, and they have always granted a form of enlightenment through a connection with these characters without having to point out what they are as tokens. And now my father, in the latter part of his life, is actively fighting that extreme that he's held his entire life. He's actively trying to say, no, I don't want to be like that anymore. I don't want to be a racist. And the reason that he is doing that, the reason he has come to that kind of enlightenment, is because he has fallen in love with actors and characters who are played by people of color that he loves. And that contradiction caused a change in his morality, a change in his way of thinking. And that is the beauty of these venues of entertainment that we watch. These characters aren't tokens. They're characters. They're well-written, well-crafted, and with an excellent lore by the creators who made them, that cause people like my dad, who used to be an avid racist, to actively change himself because he cannot bring together the idea of him being a racist and loving these people and loving these actors and loving these characters at the same time. And that is the beauty. That is the true change that can happen when you do entertainment correctly. These people don't understand that. They're taking these entertainment franchises and they are now using them to create division and hate because they're run by racists and bigots and sexists. And the problem with racists and bigots and sexists is that they see everything through their lens. They look at everybody else and they think that they are also sexist and racist. That's their problem. They can't see outside their own echo chamber, outside their own box. And they're taking something that has done such a wonderful thing as take a racist man and make him change his thought process, how he views people, how he lives his life philosophically. And they're taking that and destroying it and using it to create division and hate. And that shit just pisses me off.
That was very well said, man.
No, it's understood, understandable. Also got now in the chat we got Snowdub, and
Wow, that was amazing. That was an
no,
amazing
I
article.
loved it. I was want to get everyone's take on that. Starting with Snowdub, and then we'll go to Vinny and Red Gaze.
Yeah, well, I was raised in the South. Sorry, I got a car. I'm outside right now. Sorry for any background noise. But yeah, I was raised, or I wasn't raised in the South. My family was. My father and grandfather, and man, it goes all the way back to owning a plantation, even. And so, I heard it, growing up and stuff. It was around. But as time grew on, I went to a diverse school. I made friends. So I mean, the racism was always in the background, from my family past. But as I met people and understood, that they were people as I was growing up, you get past that. You get past any kind of rhetoric that was maybe, kind of thrown into your mind as a young child. And so that's what I wanted to add to that was, just meeting people and understanding their character, you can get past any kind of racist thoughts. And you're absolutely right. These people are just trying to stuff it right back down our throats. And especially with the whole attack on the male and especially the white straight Christian male, and Angus can, and I are not Christians by any means. But man, there is a serious attack on those people, and I really feel sorry for them. That's my spill.
Yeah. It's sad. I mean, it's sad and it's sick because they're using it just to try to make more money or do things their way. It's not right, man. Because like I said, no one's like sheltered. No one has their hands over their eyes. Everyone knows what true racism is and what it isn't. And what they're doing is just manipulating people. That's all it is. It's disgusting. Seen it in the comic industry, seen it in the movie industry. These people who they're hired to attack. Because they're like, oh, we need change now. We need this. We need that. Like, what are you talking about? Throughout the 80s, 90s, 2000s, you could see it everywhere in shows, in movies. I mean, All in the Family, for example. I think they did something last night. They're re-showing something new, some live crap. But anyway, those kind of things were already around. You know what I mean? There was diversity everywhere. They were showing ignorance, and people grew and they learned from it. Because, like you were saying, it's great story writing. It's finding the humanity in people. Once people who've been racist in their lives or something, when their eyes are open, they're gonna change. You don't take that away. You don't shit on that. But it is what it is.
Yeah, no, it's gotten really weird.
Very weird.
I made the analogy, and I make this analogy when you get any of these weirdos come at war campaign. They're like racism, blah blah blah, and it's like it's always something about customer service that we're about, and then they try to deflect to say something about racism or something. And my retort as a black guy, I'm like, if I ran Clorox, I wouldn't crap on. I wouldn't be like fuck white people or something because the Ku Klux Klan ends up being my number one purchaser for their sheets. It's like I can invest my money or whatever for agendas against that type of stuff privately and quietly, but you just don't go out and like unless there's an alternate source, an alternate customer base to go after, and that will take the spot of and even if that's the case, it's like, well, dude, take money from these people and put it where you want to. It's like it's the same idea as like my grandpa. Apparently he could have inherited a shitload of money, but it was like dirty in his eyes because it was from like clan activity or whatever. So and it's like, dude, he could have used that for something good. He could have gave a bunch to like the I don't know, YMCA or something in a black neighborhood or something down south. But no, and that's my view with the racism and stuff. It's like, I don't care. I want your money, like with business. And it gets weird, like they talk down where it's like, I don't care if you are racist. Like if you're a fan of something, cool. It's like, I don't have that, how would I say that contempt or I know there's a better word for it, but I think it's just, it's very pompous to think like, oh, this guy hates black people. So like his fandom for like the NFL per se or something is null and void now because he hates black people. It's like, maybe we can, use this fandom to make him change his view or something, try to accentuate that. But no, like it's gotten weird, with racism. Like Target. I don't know if y'all remember that Target ad, the white kid wearing Black Panther.
Right.
Yes.
Just like 5-10 years ago, the whole idea was like, go to college and experience other cultures and try stuff. Open your eyes. So right now it's like, you're not Indian. You don't deserve to wear a feather on your head or blah, blah, blah. Or you're appropriating my culture by wearing Moana, whitey. And it's like this, you're trying to fight racism and yet you're giving people reasons to isolate and hate other races because it's like, oh, I can't enjoy this because I'm not that color. So, and it's like it becomes insulary, and it's like you realize this is a narrative from the media trying to make conflict so they can divide and conquer us.
Yeah.
Well, it's creating division. I'm sorry. Go ahead, John.
No, you said it perfectly.
No, yeah, you did. Yeah, you did perfectly. Because that is what they're doing. It's that division, and it's insane. And then they think like we're gonna all drink the Kool-Aid, like we don't know what's going on. So they're gonna change all our fandoms that we've been loving to suit their new agenda. Well, excuse me, people, society, they have grown and come accustomed to different ways. It's don't tell us that there's no diversity, there's no this, because that's bullshit.
It is bullshit. It's a tried and true and tested American ideal. I mean, it's something that we change as Americans as we move forward through each generation. But if you go back as far as the 1820s, it was the red man. It was kicking the red man off their land. Why? Because they're savages, because they're not Christians, or whatever other reason. And you move forward and then into the Civil War era, and it was the reason for the passage of the 13th, 14th, 15th Amendments was just division, trying to take the wealth from. I mean, I'm not saying that slavery wasn't a part of the fabric of the war, of the revolution, not the Revolutionary War, of the Civil War, but it was also a matter of going down and taking the wealth that was in the South. South had all the money, North had all the industry. And they went down there and grabbed that money, and they used race. Even though something good came out of it, they were using that as a vehicle to go down there and take that wealth. And then you move forward into the last century, in the 20th century, all the way up into the civil rights. Good things came of these, but division has always been used as a tool to manipulate the people, to take wealth from others, to change the demographic, and it's a continuing cycle. We finally got at a point from the 90s into the 80s, 90s, and the 2000s, like you said, to where we've gotten to a point where the scales were finally becoming balanced between us. And now that the scales have become balanced, the extremists, the politician extremists, they have looked at this and gone, oh, wait, we can't allow this to happen, because if the people unify and realize that we're screwing them, then they're going to unify against us. So we need to make sure that pendulum keeps swinging. Let's just push it in this direction. You look at these people in politics that are pushing this narrative, all the, and they're not just white, but a majority of them are rich white people. They want to stay wealthy and bloated. They want to stay above, in the upper class. They want to remain in power, and they're willing to sacrifice anyone, their own, what they can, their own demographic, their own race, or their own gender. Like, they're willing to sacrifice and use as tokens to push division and hatred in order to keep the people divided. That is their plan. That has always been their plan. And It is our generation, our collective generations, the boomers, Gen X, the millennials, Gen Z, all of us. It's our job to make sure that the scales remain, and that we don't let these people pushing division and bigotry and hate continue to push those scales to a point where it's just a pendulum swinging in the other direction. That's what we need to do. That's why I'm writing this book, because I'm not letting entertainment do that. I'm not one of the propaganda arms of this ideology.
Right. Yeah, because it's all about control. If we're all divided and fighting, then those people in power stay in control.
Yep.
Yeah, man. That's well said. And going back to what you guys were talking about earlier, I think a lot of us modern day toxic white males, we grew up with a lot of racism. A lot of our parents were racist.
Mm-hmm.
And, and now we have the pleasure of watching them change, because these fucknecks have missed the boat. We've, like you said, the scales evened out. Like, we were good until somebody decided, everybody's good. That's not good for us. So let's throw a wrench in that ship.
Yeah.
And that's where we are now.
Gay marriage became a thing, even between, even the Christian conservatives that, are really hard lined against gay marriage. They basically just threw up their hands and were like, well, you're just going to hell. They just kind of gave up on the fight, because
oh my God, I'm so glad so glad you
And
said that
and
because
now, I'm sorry, just one more second. And
oh,
now
yeah, yeah, yeah. Go ahead.
that's when the bathroom debate started. That's when the bathroom debate started. We need to get the rhetoric ratchet back up. Let's take less than 1% of the population and use them as a tool, and not without any care to people that have gender dysphoria, which is legit. Gender dysphoria is legit, and those people have a hard enough time. But now they're being used as tokens to continue division and continue hatred, and it's wrong to them and everyone else.
Yeah, no, I love what you said because this is the thing I always talk to. I've never voted in a presidential or like national state election as of yet, but I plan on registering here in Ohio as a Republican. I used to want to be independent, but I realized like, you don't have it open to you to vote left or right unless you pick one of those two parties for like those primaries and whatnot. And it's really looking at the format. You can indict different people of the party doing X, Y, and Z, but what is the format? What is the agenda of the party? And it's like the Republicanism, or Republican ideal is as much freedom as possible, but with the awareness that to make a society, you have to sacrifice some freedoms to get along, and you have to agree on some set rules. And it's like that makes sense. The idea is that we want to restrain as much as possible from enacting more government, but there is a necessity, and it's like Democrats. It's all about more takeover, more taxes, etc. It's like just look at that. Make Republican Party what you want per se, if you want to, if you're looking at it that way. But what is the basis? That's how I look at it, and so I'm going to go that way. And it's funny because I talk to Ricky all the time about like realizing stuff. Because like a year or two ago, before he met me and Iron Wolf, especially, he kind of followed the whatever Kool-Aid was saying, where it's like, oh, Trump's bad, and it's like, well, why? And there's no thought into why. He's bad, that type of rhetoric. And he's kind of come where it's like, yeah, I don't like Trump, but I definitely see like I don't have to like him if he's doing well. That's the whole point of politicians is like, what are they doing for me, not if I like their person. And when you can see past that, when you can see that like Republican Party somehow, I don't really know when it was, but they evolved. They evolved from being Bible thumping traditionalists that were like hard pressed to let's kind of take some libertarian ideals, and we still facilitate fandom, if you will, or adherence from those kind of hard right people with religion. But even those religious people have kind of, like you said, threw up their hands. Where it's like, I see that. That's why I love EVS so much, because he's a Mormon, he's Christian. I assume he has certain beliefs that people would take as like you're a bigot or blah blah blah, but he doesn't let that cross over into doing business, where he's like, yeah, he's probably against like the transgender movement, LBGT, etc. A lot of these things that are degeneracy according to like the Bible or your brand of reading the Bible. But he holds back and knows like, well, we're in society that is of a country that's secular. We all need to get along as much as possible. And yeah, I totally agree. It was weird. I told my mom, gay rights is going to pass at some point, civil rights idea, and it did. And then I'm like, Democrats have nothing to fight for. It's over. All I can do is maybe try to accentuate some of those rights they've won. And then the transgender thing popped out of nowhere. And it's like, that's where you realize the tokenism looking back. Because, like you said, less than 1% are trans. And now everyone's like non-binary, this and that. And, it's just they've manufactured a minority class from a lot of people, at least a lot of the adherents. So I'm loving everything you're saying, dude.
I mean, they're also attacking, well, not attacking, but they're also taking advantage of young people who go through, we've all gone through adolescence. There's questions that come up. We've had friends that have, questioned their sexuality or themselves or how they see them, how they view the world. And they're taking these people and, instead of guiding them, instead of allowing them to freely express themselves, they're manufacturing expressions and then reinforcing that manufactured expression. And, I'm a person who excuse me, I've always been center left. A lot of my ideals come from classical liberal ideas. And so I've always believed that there is just people who are born who have gender dysphoria, or people that are born naturally gay, or maybe have an inclination more toward their feminine side if they're born male, or vice versa. Like I believe in that, because humans, we're not perfectly grown out of the womb, and there's things that can happen inside the process of the creation of a human being that can lead to any number of I don't want to say abnormalities, but just differences, variations in a person. So seeing that, how the party that I've traditionally supported won in their eyes so many fights, and I also agree with some conservative ideologies, their beliefs. That's why I'm centrist. But like you said, they started manufacturing these things, and then just to have something to fight, and that's not fair to adolescents or young people who are going through changes that they may need help with family or friends, or introspection to get through, and when they're throwing all these new made up genders and shit in
it's like a form of brainwashing, essentially. Like you said, their brains aren't fully developed yet, so they're going to be more susceptible to this stuff, especially because these kids are always on social media. So it's whatever they're seeing 24 hours a day that's shoved down their throats. They end up buying it. They're believing it.
It's all about what make like the drive. Okay, the problem with teens is like they're developing, so they're the evolutionary change is happening where they're becoming aggressive and rebellious to their parents, because it's all about like animalistically learning to survive on your own. So there's that edge to them, but there's also the susceptibility of being hyper self-aware, over conscious of themselves, and so they want to blend in as much as possible and be appeasing to the people around them, because they're finally, even though they're trying to distance from the parents and be independent, they want to be part of something. And that doesn't necessarily go away ever with humanity, but it's over accentuated in teenage time, so that really makes it worse when you're
I also think that they're overly sensitive to these things. You know what I mean? Like it's easier because it's always in their face now. Like if you think about us when we were kids, we didn't have all this crap. We didn't have the phones. We didn't have all this. And what we did, we'd run outside. We'd play with all different friends, all different colors, shapes. It didn't matter. And now it's like they're living on their phones. They're living on social media. And it's whatever they hear, they see. Like you said, they want to fight for it. They think, oh, that's what I have to believe in, blah, blah, blah. It's the ones who are trying to control. They want to take away people's ability to think for their own. They don't want your opinions. It's just whatever we say you have to do.
Well, it's more insidious than just going after the teenagers, though. They're poisoning these kids' brains as soon as they come out.
Yeah, no, that's
from preschool on. I mean, and some of the parents are just so radical and disgusting. Like you see some of these kids being exploited. It's sick.
Oh yeah, and the colleges won't stop. Those professors, it's like a new wave of them. It's crazy.
They're indoctrination centers, is what they are.
Yeah, college is awful, and it's the biggest scam on the face of the earth.
It really is.
Yeah, I gotta add to that. One battle at a time here, guys. The main thing I think is really important for an objective, especially for the Phantom Menace, is to definitely fight back against the attack on the First Amendment. People like old Zuckerberg and people like that, banning these hard right conservatives and the far right political agendas. I understand, but even Snoop Dogg got all in a twist, got his panties in a twist over his love for what's his name, Farrakhan or whatever, and he's fighting for his right because he got banned. And I totally agree with Snoop Dogg. I can't stand what that guy has to say, but he has a right to say it. And so that could be the bridge that we need to band everybody together and say, hey, wait, there's an attack on our First Amendment going on here, and it needs to stop. And for me, that's really what the Phantom Menace is about, is making sure our voices get heard.
Agreed. And that's the thing is that this ideology eats its own, and we see it time and time again. SJWs eat their own.
Totally.
Dude, speaking of that, did y'all ever see? I think this happened. Let me guess, like November last year, maybe all the way back to February last year. I'm not sure, but I don't know if it was resolved or not. But there was a case in Canada that perfectly shows the SJW dilemma that they make everyone a minority. There was a trans male to female that still had their set of tools, and they wanted a bikini wax. Well, the only one to wax at this parlor was a Muslim, and they can't. It's like, yeah, you can identify as a woman, but you actually have a penis, and I'm a Muslim. I can't be around that. It's not my husband's. No. And they're like, you can come back tomorrow, but this person just wanted to make controversy. And apparently, I don't know if it's the same person, but there's another case that might be the same, where this person is actually kind of doing like the gay baker problem, the gay cake baker controversy.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Where it was people purposely trying to find this guy to not do them service, even though everyone around them would. And it was like that, where it's like, hey, we can do this tomorrow, and it's just it was like a setup essentially, just to set up a frivolous lawsuit or whatever, try to get payday. But it became a dilemma. It's an SJW dilemma, because it's like, do you side with the Muslim woman who, it's like she's a minority, quote unquote, in the West, who can't do this, or so if you don't side with her, you're an Islamophobe, but if you don't side with the trans, you're a transphobe. And it's like, which side do you pick? Which one's more oppressed, I guess.
Who wins out on the victim hierarchy?
Yeah.
Their heads just explode.
And it's like, and this is happening in I think I've heard something about in Texas, which is weird that this could even be a problem in Texas, besides maybe like Houston or like Austin. I want to say it's in Texas. There was a school that they're going to teach some, very liberal sex ed, which is really just not sex ed, but
They just use Pornhub.
manipulation. It would not even. Yeah, it's coercion, if you will. I guess is the right word. With like this kind of degenerate philosophy to try to indoctrinate your kids very early. And there's Muslims there that fought back, though. And so they didn't have this go through, but it's like LBGT phobic that they're not. So it's like, how is this working? And it's like, this is a problem when you hook up with people that you think you have a common enemy, but you're really enemies in and of yourselves. It's just funny. I love when they eat their own, because it's like Game of Thrones. Even the feminist wackos are kind of in arms with us to some degree in our hatred of this last season. It's just funny when you have something to unite yourselves, and it's like, I don't know.
Well, it's a part of being in a republic is when liberties conflict. We all deserve equal liberties, but sometimes they come into contradiction. If you have a person who is religious, who follows a faith that does not allow them to do something, and then you have another person who's asking for a service from that religious person, that's a conflict of liberties in an open business. And my feeling on my take on that is there another cake shop in town? Is there another wax place you can go to if you really feel that bad about it? Because by forcing that person to betray their values denoted by whichever god or goddess they serve, then you're taking that person's liberty. The only time that I would make exception to that is if that is literally the only cake shop within a 10-mile radius. It's the only place you can go to. Then that's more of a monopoly situation. And I think that the liberties of the person going and asking for the service would be pushed, would be more observed. But in any other case where there's not monopoly, where you can go to another location and you can get that service from another place that will not deny you based on something that offends their belief system, then the person's faith, the protection of their religion should be protected. That liberty should be protected. And that's my take on it.
Yeah, I'm all for the in this actual case, I'm all for the even if there's kind of intrinsic divides between the general whole of Islam with the West being American or Canadian, whatever. Yeah, I'm all for defending the Islamic person over the trans who's just trying to cause controversy. Can't wait a day for bikini wax or whatever.
Right.
But no, yeah, it's like it's a dilemma for the SJW because it's like everyone's a victim if they're not white and male and straight.
Right.
I'm trying to think. So, kind of getting less political. We can still round back to that because
Oh yeah, I'm sorry.
no. This is totally great. I love this because we usually don't get this invested in political discussion. That's still vague enough because it applies. It does apply, and that's the sad thing is we want to be apolitical, but we've gotten to the point where like everything is. A lot of these divides in entertainment, especially The Last Jedi, reflect the political divide in the country, and it's so hyper accentuated with the media and clear lies or divisiveness that like you can't help but not bring it into entertainment because this is like you see with EVS where it's like, yeah, I want to be apolitical, but it's like, well, this is why we're doing this. This is why we seem like a bunch of Trumpers because it's like you're telling us to go away. That you can think what you want as long as you think what I think. And it's funny because kind of going to a less specific political discussion, I want to get y'all's take. There's this whole narrative that you see with the SJWs. I saw something about the Batwoman trailer and stuff in this one guy I follow. I don't know why, but I follow him hoping that, we'll find some common ground, maybe talk or something on the stream. But I don't know if he's just trying to appease people because of his side or whatever, but he's like, oh, these dude bros in there, hating on Batwoman trailer. Like, it wasn't made for you. This argument, I was like, dude, Star Wars, Game of Thrones, all these things of entertainment, MCU was not made for the weirdos who have, co-opted it now. Comics and the creations that come from with film and stuff and video games were not made for girls they're like 15 or whatever, or feminism, this weird shit of today. It was made for lonely, what would be counted as incels, whether they end up getting married or not, but it was for like the incel class of population that was hardcore into shit, that got they weren't cool with just casual interests, that you need something to follow, that you need a lot of time invested in and whatnot. And but they want to co-opt and be like, well, get out of here now, you incels. And it's like and it's just like Batwoman was I'm sure was probably made by a man or something.
Yes.
And it's probably a male fantasy because lesbian porn is one of the top categories searched across the world because it's great seeing two girls getting on. Being a man. And it's clearly a comic creation. Batman, one of the most iconic comics. Well, let's make it a chick, so it's got boobs, and she's a lesbian, so she'll be around more boobs. It's like clearly a male fantasy. Even if someone can identify with it, like EVS talks about X-Men, where it's like, yeah, you can find that depending on your outlook in life, but it's not meant to be per se political. And it's just funny. I was going to get y'all's take roundtable about this this whole narrative. Like, it wasn't made for you. Like Brie Larson, her whole. I don't want to hear 40-year-old white dudes and all that stuff. It's the same narrative, and it really gets under my skin because like y'all weren't here until Disney got a lot of this stuff, and then it became like, let's front load Comic-Con with trailers.
Yeah. To me, I think it's just ridiculous because if you want to tell a good story, you want to sell a good product, it should be about the story, about the characters. If you're specifically writing just to appease one group, then you've already failed before you got out the door. You know what I mean? It's even if something is a success out of it, like Captain Marvel, for example, doesn't matter because it's not going to hold up. If you look back at it, years ahead. I mean, me personally, I didn't bother seeing it because I was never invested in that character to begin with. And again, because I don't like what's going on with Marvel and all that kind of crap. But yeah, if you just tell me it's going to be a good story, the trailer should have shown that as well. But they didn't. They pushed a narrative, and for that alone, that's why I didn't want to go. I'm like, why should I give my money to this? It's not a character I want to see or a story I want to see. But if they approached it in a manner of, like they did with Tony Stark, for example, or the introduction of Black Widow into the movies, you'd be more invested in it. You'd be like, okay, oh, that is interesting to see a character coming through this or that and becoming a hero out of it. But yeah, when you do like the Mary Sue thing right off the bat, yeah, it's a joke. You're not a good writer. You're not a good storyteller. That's my take anyway.
So you have a problem with Captain Marvel?
I do. I do. I have a personal problem with Captain Marvel. You were talking about,
with cardboard in general.
yeah.
I can't unsee this.
I don't care what a bunch of 40-year-old white men think. Boom, landed the part.
I resemble that remark. I'm 41.
I got this at McDonald's, by the way. So if you're wondering about the high quality masks that I got, it's from McDonald's.
For a second, I thought we had a Cecil appearance.
That would be amazing. Sorry, next please continue.
No, so Batman. I've loved Batman since I was a kid. It's been one of my favorite characters. Batman was created by a guy. He was created by a guy named Bob Kane. Or was it Bob Kane?
Yeah, my father
Bob
knew
Kane.
him.
Yeah.
My father knew Bob Kane.
Yeah, Bob. I was going to say
Yeah.
Tom, but yeah.
Right, and he's been around since what I do remember is been around since 1939, and the character Bruce Wayne was taken from two different people that he envied or that he liked, and I can't remember each of them, but I know one of them was an adventurer that used to go to Africa and hunt and do all that stuff. So it's a very masculine character that was created. I don't have a problem with Batwoman. Mind you. All right, when the SJWs attacked Ruby Rose last year because she wasn't gay enough or whatever the hell it was, I was like, okay, all right, SJWs, now I'm gonna like this character. How you like that? I was ready to be all in, and then the Batwoman trailer came out, and it was Batwhammon, and I don't mind the one line with the first line that she says, that when I guess whoever the black character is, I guess that's Lucius, I'm not sure, says. That suit is perfectly made, and she says it will be when it fits a woman. Like that, if that was in isolation, like I wouldn't have minded it so much. Or if she had said it will be perfect when it fits me, wouldn't have a problem with it. But then after that, you get reminded how many times that she's a woman, and then she says the infamous line, "I won't let a man take credit for a woman's work." Are you kidding me? You have his cave, his tech, his car, his mansion, his everything that his legend. And you are assuming it. Like, I don't have a problem with Batwoman. I do have a problem with Batwoman.
Yeah, I have a problem with really shitty writing. That's what I have a problem with, because
When you
again, that character's fine in the comic books. I enjoyed the stories that she's been in. She's a-okay. But to hear that, because I've yet to see the trailer, but I did see the episode where she first appeared, and to me it was okay. She did fine. Like, her acting was fine in it.
Oh, she was in the Arrowverse?
Yeah, they did some kind of a crossover event or something. I don't know.
Oh,
But
okay.
I ended up catching the episode she was in. And I was like, oh, that's not bad. Well, why is everyone flipping out?
Yeah, well, how was the character? Was she doing it well, or?
Yeah, no, I was fine with it, because she is Batman's cousin anyway.
Mhm.
So I mean, it makes sense for why she has the stuff that she has. But the way that they set it up is like, he went missing or he left town for some reason, no one knows. So
He's a white male. He took off. He turned Han Solo.
He had some privilege to seek out.
Yeah.
he was running for president. Oh shit!
Well,
But yeah,
Batman.
Since we're talking about women and stuff, Vinny, just wanting you to showcase. I think it's a good midway point, or maybe a quarter point, third point, however long we go. I know you only have so much time, so I'm gonna present you, and let's get some knowledge on your campaign, your Indiegogo campaign.
Yeah, this is my second campaign. The first one I did was Through the Woods. I'm gonna have to redo that one soon, but all those backers got fulfilled. I had mailed everything out, so
yeah,
I mean,
it was the
Beautiful.
fast. I got Bigfoot Bill, and it was one of those things, like, because I don't follow Doug Snable that much, so when I got it in the mail, it's like, oh shit! But it was a while after it closed, but it was still, I guess, somewhat timely given other projects, especially EVS. But yeah, yours is the fastest I've received thus far, and I was surprised at how quick it came in the mail. So yeah, he definitely delivers on what you're buying.
Yeah, well, I'm all about professionalism. I've worked in the industries for a long time. I've done covers for Image Comics, Blue Water Comics, a lot of stuff that even got a ton of publicity and media coverage. But yeah, I mean, I was also a lead designer for McFarlane Toys. I did stuff for Toy Biz, Bowen Design. But yeah, now I'm launching my company pretty much. So it's Mela Art World. I'm the owner, creator of it all, and I want to give guys and girls a chance to look at more of my artwork, see all different types of things I could do. So I decided to do an art book on a lot of like the famous pieces that I've had over the years. And
Loving the Catwoman. I love the breastises.
yeah, that's a hot woman in leather with a cat on her. But yeah, so it's going to be a 52-page art book. I'm going to keep it in a comic book format because for me personally, like I've have a bunch of different art books from all different places, and sometimes it gets crazy to store them or look for them. Like if you know, in my case, I've moved a lot of times, so like they're in bins. I got to search for stuff, but I know where my comic collection is, and a lot of people are in a similar situation. So I figured I'm going to keep it in a comic book format. I'm just going to give it like a nice thick cover, and yeah, you can keep it your collection. You'll know where it is right away. So I'm showcasing these beautiful pieces. I'm gonna have all different ones. I have heroes, villains, monsters, pinup, portrait pieces. You know, some original characters and things. So
That's beautiful art.
Is your
Thanks,
Daenerys going to be in the sketchbook?
no, that was a newer piece. Yeah, so I have the different perks. So I'm keeping it very simple for people. It's pretty much you get the art book, $25 plus shipping, and the other perk is the sketchbook, which is a convention style sketchbook. It's 20 pages. They're limited as well right now, but you get that with the art book on the second tier for 45 plus shipping.
Is that is that the link you sent me, then?
Yeah,
Yeah, and
yeah, you should have gotten that as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah, I'll be promoting that on my my Facebook page, my Elemental Saga Facebook page. If anybody's out there is listening that is a member of my page, because
I appreciate
help
it.
our man Vin out.
Well, the beauty of this whole project is that as a thank you to fans as well, if I hit my stretch goal, which is $5,000, you guys are going to get a free volume 2 of my art book. So that's another 52 pages just for backing this one. If I hit the stretch goal.
now with
So
volume 2, will that delay? If you hit that goal, will that delay the shipment at all? Or
no, not at all.
okay,
All these files are ready to go, ready to be sent to the printers. I'm fixing up like 1 or 2 other pieces just to make sure the whole book is pretty much perfect. But yeah, I mean, as long as we hit it within, well, I got 28 days left. So if we hit that $5,000 within this 28 days, anyone who backed the first one, they're gonna get the second one with it. So I'll scroll on a little bit. You guys can see the maybe some more artwork that I have. I did like close-ups and crops.
Wow.
But yeah, I'm very proficient with portraits. Everything you've seen on my sites on here,
I love
everything's
the
hand
Ghost Rider.
drawn. I'm sorry.
I love that Ghost Rider. I think that's
And
it. I love your style,
Flaming Skull.
but the Ghost Rider, it stands out as like something just totally different from the rest. Like, is it something about the style of it, or just the specific detail, or maybe it's just because it's a skull? I don't know, but it just something stands out more than the rest of your stuff. And I don't know what it is exactly because I don't have the vernacular of an artist.
It could be the contrast too, the dark and the light. But so that's what I'm saying. In these projects, you could see all the different types of things that I've done. So scrolling down to the cover of Volume 2, I did a fantasy piece, the Alice in Something Land. But yeah, so I mean, it's all different stuff. I have a Greek mythology. I'm a fan of that stuff. I have a couple
I
of
love
projects.
that.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a couple of different projects that are all in different genres. So by looking at my art book, you're going to get a taste of it. You're going to see some of these characters that should be popping up in future campaigns. Excuse me. But yeah, so like I said, it's a ton of work. It's essentially if we hit our goals, it'll be 104 pages of artwork, for $25 or 45, depending on which tier you guys get.
Yeah,
But,
the other thing I was gonna say, I saw the centaur, but I didn't realize, like, yeah, I'm into mythology, and it's like I don't know if you've done this at all, but the Medusa from the Sam Worthington, the remake of Clash of the Titans, I'd love to see your take on that, because they actually got like a really beautiful model for like stand in for the Medusa.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd love to see your take artistically with that.
I've actually, like, years ago, I was working with one of my other brothers who's also an artist. He's a sculptor, and we had done a bunch of Greek mythology statues and busts. So I have a few different projects still in that genre, and yeah, you'll eventually see something cool from me on that end.
Nice, yeah. Everyone, if you might have been here from the start, so update the stream or come back later after we're done. I added all the panelists links. Vinny's has a channel. He shows you his he'll show you updates on sketches for like 5 minutes to show his campaign and stuff. And more time he gets, the more he'll start putting up. And I love seeing what he does. So go sub him, and you can always find his links to Indiegogo through there. I'm trying to incentivize people to sub to you and then find your link. But yeah, you can find Vinny Tartamel as well on Indiegogo.
Yeah, because I'm still pretty new to YouTube, but I'm going to be making more videos and things like that. I eventually want to do, like, show people like a how-to or like my process, either again more sketches or straight up how I do a painting of a piece. Because essentially most of my pieces, I'll scan in the line work and then I'll just paint right over it when I'm working on Photoshop.
Nice. See, looking at your companies you work for, I have a volume of Mercy Sparks. I haven't read much of it, but I just love devil characters. Love Purgatory, so it's like, oh, another devil chick. Let's check that out. I was going to get your take because Devil's Due. I'm hoping this is the same one. Is this the same company that did the Ocasio-Cortez comic that got the cease and desist?
I believe it is. I know Devil's Due and Dynamite, I think they're owned by the same guy.
Oh, wow. That's crazy they haven't had them cross, Mercy and Purgatory.
Yeah, I'm not 100% on it, again, because it's been years since I worked for that guy. I wasn't a fan. But I dealt directly with like the creator of the book, which was Hack and Slash. So yeah, I did a bunch of covers for him as well.
Yeah, so I was going to get your take, and we can get the panel afterwards. But you as an artist and stuff, what are you thinking with this Wonder Woman Ocasio-Cortez debacle, the cease and desist? And I think Jeff Hicks said one of those on eBay is worth like 16 grand now.
Jesus, that's pretty insane. I don't know. It could all just be like just smoke and mirrors, just to get numbers and attention to it. You know, it's no big deal. I mean, yeah, I saw the image, and obviously it looks like it could definitely be copyright infringement. But again, I mean, they say it's 20%. If you change something 20%, it's okay. But if DC wants to be, very hard on people, they're gonna. So, it helps. For me, it helps the media and the political aspect of it all. So it was great for them to do that on their side. As a fan, I think it's a complete joke. I think that whole book is a joke. I don't. And this is coming from someone who I've done political portraits that garnered a lot of attention, but I didn't know with the source material what was going to be in the actual books themselves. I was literally hired to do portraits of people. So when I found out, I'm like, oh my God, I didn't even want to be part of those projects anymore.
Yeah, well, hey, definitely reach out. Red Gaze here. He is kind of like me, more so invested, though, in coverage of Comic Skate. So definitely hook up with him. And I think you're doing your first stream soon, Red Gaze. Is that correct? Saturday?
Yep, Saturday morning at 11 o'clock. It's just a thank you, for the 100 subs.
Yeah, I already saw you're almost at 150, so great.
Yeah, a lot of that's thanks
you're
to
earning
you,
it.
yes.
Well, yeah, but you're earning it because it's like, you can pay $1 million in super chats, and all those people can come look at your channel, but it's all about your content's what's going to keep them. So getting those extra 40 something now, that's reflective of the content, not just someone shouting you out.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. I'm going to try to do a weekly Indiegogo, Comics Gate, Indie Comics. Just a little bit of coverage. Go over what projects are out. And obviously, I can't cover everything at once, but yeah, I want to try to turn that into a weekly thing and just cover some things. And Vinny's definitely going to be on the list.
Awesome, man. I appreciate it, and congrats too.
Thank you.
Yeah. What does everyone else in the panel think of this Ocasio-Cortez comic debacle?
Ugh.
I've honestly been working a lot in the last week, so I haven't had much time to even hear about this. This is so. What is the issue here?
So, I'll give a shout out. I'll find his link soon, and I'll put it in the chat for everyone to go to. But I found some guy. I think his name's the Jersey Devil. He's like a small channel growing, and he covered the Ocasio-Cortez comic. At least I don't know if it's different variants or if there's like a series of them, but there was only one that I know of, and it was just a bunch of short stories that were kind of nonsensical. There's one that was kind of clever with Pac-Man. But yeah, it's just like a bunch of little like 4-page shorts.
Okay.
But one of the variants was like a clear copy of Wonder Woman type portrait of just Ocasio in the suit.
Gotcha.
And so DC sent a cease and desist, and I think EVS was saying that it might actually be a like go and find these copies in the wild, and they're going to, of course, be like, well, we can't find them, but
Wow.
You can find one for 16 grand. Of course, the problem with that is you got to find someone who wants to pay 16 grand, and the people who would be interested aren't going to do it.
oh yeah, the people
out there.
that want it, the people that want it are SJWs, so they don't. They're not going to put money where their mouth is.
I mean, or just genuinely as a historical piece. I mean, just as a representation of the times or the event. I could see someone keeping it, storing it somewhere for 50 years from now.
Steven, yeah, you saying that, and it'd be great if Fandom Menace and Comicsgate can be, we're still in our infancy, so it remains to be seen if we'll like legitimize ourselves further than just a movement for a time. But if we do legitimize ourselves to some extent, it'd be great to see a museum of like, this is why we came to be, and here's an example in Comicsgate of why we became Comicsgate.
It's a part of the culture. It's part of the fabric of the culture that's going on right now. I mean, there's a lot of normies, not that being a normie is a bad thing, that just aren't plugged in, don't understand, don't see what's going on. But yeah, I'd absolutely believe that movements like ours, Comicsgate and the Fandom Menace, that's going to be a footnote in history somewhere. I really do believe that. I can feel that.
Yeah, that's why I'm definitely behind you and trying to show you off to more people and help legitimize your project, because I think it helps legitimize the movement as more than just that. That's just like Black Lives Matter. Like, what have they done to like really change anything? It's just like we're mad, and then some people co-opted it, to say the least, and made it into a violent thing, just like Antifa. And so just don't want to deal with that shit. But what are they contributing positively? And I think that's something good that you're doing with the Fandom Menace, and hopefully you can get some Comicsgate crossover. That's another reason I brought Vinny on, even if he doesn't facilitate, maybe gets you more involved with artists to maybe give you a cover.
Well, the books. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, that was it.
The book states that I believe it comes from my perspective. The chapters that are written by me come from my perspective. I'm going to have an author's note that recognizes that each person that's quoted inside this book, or people that write their own sections, they represent themselves alone. So the main chapters are from my perspective, and I think that Comicsgate is a direct progenitor of the Fandom Menace. A lot of the values the Fandom Menace has comes from Comicsgate culture. So, I have a chapter on Comicsgate because I want to make sure that representation is in there. It's deserving. And also, I'm sorry.
No, yeah, I was saying absolutely. I mean, for what's been going on, yeah, it's definitely part of it, because you have those people like at Marvel and DC that they're getting upset that no one's buying those type of books anymore, and everyone's gravitating towards the independent guys who aren't cramming that kind of crap down their throats. And that's why they have those like SJWs doing their footwork essentially to try to scare and intimidate all the independent guys so that they run away. But that's not happening. So yeah, it's important that you got it in there for sure.
Yeah, it's funny. I was just in a war campaign chat. I was talking about someone shared a GIF of Nightcrawler, Jake Gyllenhaal movie, and I think it's made by the guy to End of Watch. And I talked about this like, yeah, this is a great example of it's perhaps a liberal perspective, or maybe it's just someone that's cautionary but still supports capitalism. But it's a tale critiquing capitalism in the subtext, and showing like how predatory and inhumane you can become if you let this just go full blown without any adherence or awareness to your fellow men. But it's not steering you to say capitalism is bad. It's like, this is what can come from it. And it's like, SJWs don't know how to do that. They only know how to present emotions at something without any practical thought.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Vincent. I'm sorry. Keep it going. Didn't mean to walk over you. I'm sorry.
That's good.
No, you're the main guest, dude. Just go right ahead.
Well, I want to ask Vinny, do you work with anyone? Do you work with any creator, like writers or any kind of creators?
Right now it's just my brother and myself, but yeah, for the most part, like my current projects, it's all me.
Okay. Like, are you willing to work with other writers, or do you have your own imagination and your own outlook?
Oh yeah, no. I mean, I'm willing to, but the thing is, like, I have a lot of projects on my plate,
Right.
so that's the thing. It's always kind of tough, but I'm always willing to do covers for people and that kind of thing. You know, if someone needs some help fleshing out an idea, usually if I can make the time, I'll definitely be doing it. You know.
Yeah,
Okay.
I can attest to that. I was literally talking to Vinny last night, and we hooked up. I'm like, yeah, this is an idea I got. I just want to get like at least your industry insider knowledge about like how to go about this, what it would cost, and everything, and like what can I do X, Y, and Z with because it kind of comes down to, oh, you're already at 455. Shit.
Yeah, because even if I can't help. Thanks, guys. But yeah, even if I can't work on a project with someone, I'll give my input, my info, you know, to the best of my knowledge of you know, from the fields I've been working in. Because I mean, currently too, like I'm doing some storyboards and concept artwork for different companies. So it's like in between, I'm trying to push more of my company. So my goal is to eventually get my company big enough where I don't have to take on that freelance work. So I could do more creative things and branch out more. Yeah,
I understand that.
Yeah, that's definitely the goal.
Hey,
Mhm.
Steven, I was going to ask, what is your Facebook page? You have like a page for your creations, or?
The Facebook page is the Elemental Saga.
Is this like an Indiegogo project or something?
No, it's a Facebook page I started years ago when I first started writing, well, trying to write professionally. And I published 2 books, the Elemental Heart and Elemental Dragonfire and Brimstone. And it's going to be a part of an 8-book series. So I started working on advertising and, building that base. And then, life happens. And, I just haven't been able to really get to it. Now I've started working on it again because, my end game is to do these types of projects. I have another project hopefully lined up for a bigger YouTuber that I really believe would be successful, and I hope he takes me up on it. And then once I get past, doing a couple projects like that, then I really want to work on my art. My first love. I've been working on the Elemental Saga for 30 years since I was like 10, 11 years old. I've been reworking it, writing it just, for myself out of passion. And now I finally got it to a point where I really believe I have a good fleshed out story. And so I started writing it, and I'm going to try and release them 2 books at a time, write them back to back. And so I'm going to start working on that. Hopefully sometime next year, at least getting the outlines done.
oh, that's awesome.
Nice. I'm updating that, and I will actually add your link, Vinny, just in case people are like, I don't care, look at your channel, but I'll look at your Indiegogo.
Cool. Yeah, well, I'm trying to hit some other pieces for you too, so you can see a little bit more. But hit me up later on. I mean, if you guys are looking for cover artists on anything, I'll always try to make room as long as there's enough space in between.
Right.
But yeah,
absolutely. I'm going to keep you in mind, and I'm going to make sure to share your link and promote you as much as I can on my end, man. I really wish the best for you.
Cool, man. Thank you. You guys are awesome. Very cool.
Yeah, for sure.
But
we got your back, man.
I do got to cut out now, but I want to say just thank you again, everybody. You guys rock. Please follow me on any social media thing. I'm Vinny Art, and please, back my campaign, because it's gonna benefit everybody. You get a free book if we hit that goal, man. If we hit that stretch goal.
You're almost 10% through there, and you're already almost halfway to your initial goal.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Support Comicsgate.
Yes. Support everybody. We just got to keep doing it ourselves, sharing, supporting the way that we build our community the right way.
Wow, you're all just a bunch of racists and bigots.
Bigots symbol.
Hashtag wax my balls.
But we're united racists and bigots.
Russian bots. Don't forget we're Russian bots too.
Yeah, well, thank you again, Vinny, for coming on, and I'm glad
Thank
I
you,
got
guys.
to cross paths with Steven. Maybe we'll see something from y'all collaboratively in the future.
Oh, that'd be great. All right, guys. I'm gonna cut out now. So have a good night and keep having fun on here.
Nice talking to
Good
you,
night,
Vinny.
brother.
So before I get into more,
Thanks for hanging out.
before we get to more, what do you call
Tuck and
it?
roll.
What do you call it?
Prescription drugs?
No. I was gonna say, I don't know what I was gonna say, but more points I wrote down to cover. Gregor, I'm not looking at the chat at the moment. He was talking about the new, what is that show? The prequel to Dark Crystal coming out. I was gonna get y'all's thoughts on that. I personally, I tried to watch Dark Crystal when I was deployed, and it was very off-putting to me. I watched about 20 minutes, and I just couldn't, and I've never wanted to go back to it. So I'm not excited, but I'm totally open for people that are their take on it, especially Snow Dog, since he's a puppet and he likes that stuff.
Yeah, well, Dark Crystal was a passion project of Jim Henson's. If I remember correctly, it was the second movie, I think, after he did his first Muppet movie. But yeah, it was definitely a passion project. He wanted to make his own world and, put new characters in it and, give it a story. And, I understand, Black, it's definitely dated. And it's kind of a hard watch your first time through because it's so weird. It is out there.
Yeah.
But once you kind of digest it and get the whole idea of the story behind it, it's brilliant. And I think Jim Henson was really onto something there. Now, that said, if they decide to make a show about it, they have to stay true to Jim Henson's vision. Or, it could go off in some weird, realm where we got transgender puppets and they're all, on a feminist agenda and it could just be horrible and tragic. So let's keep it true to the vision and true to the fans. There's plenty of material. Jim Henson wrote all kinds of screenplays and just books and notes about it. So they got plenty to go on, and I, for one, am hopeful for the show.
Well, good luck with that.
Thanks.
Snow, I have a question for you. I got a question for you.
Yeah.
So would Gonzo and Camilla's relationship be considered bestiality if you don't know exactly what Gonzo is?
Oh.
Well, what happens behind the Muppet Show stays behind the Muppet Show.
What are you, kink shaming?
What makes me sick is people, trying to force that down their necks. What Gonzo does in his own time is his business, and I don't care.
Word.
Pretty sure there's a lot of no's involved.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God.
The Dark Crystal, man. I mean, from what I understand, it was much darker than what it was. The version that was released was less dark. That's all I remember about that. But if they're going to re-envision it, I mean, it could be done. But that was a masterpiece in puppeteering. That movie, when you can digest it, and I grew up on it, so it's just one of my loves, like Labyrinth.
Yeah, Labyrinth. Great movie.
But if they're going to redo it, I say put the hammer down a little and go dark. If that was the original vision of it, kids today can handle a little bit more visually than. Well, no, I can't really say that. The 80s kids are pretty hard.
Scary. As a kid watching it, it was scary. It was a scary movie. There's some some parts that are out there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Salvador, he's a great supporter of my channel. He is turning 30 tonight, so I'll wish him a happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
That's not his actual creative channel. I'll find that shortly and plug that in the chat. He does toy reviews like Marvel Legends and stuff. So once I find that, because I can't remember the name at the moment, but yeah, I will plug that soon. He's a great guy, great supporter. Appreciate him coming by and saying hi at least. Steven, I know you followed some of my Game of Thrones videos, and now I didn't realize you've already been creating before this. I thought this was kind of like, I'm just pissed with entertainment, so I want to do this Fandom Menace project. I didn't realize you had the background, so it's cool learning that. I was going to ask that. What is your take, both with delivery and with those plot points, the main plot points at least, being the actual into the series? I want to get your take on both those angles.
Well, creatively, they didn't have enough time to do what they wanted to do. Should have taken 2 full seasons to cram everything they did in the last 2 seasons to be able to flush out each story arc so that it was understandable. The Mad Queen could have happened. I have no problem with the concept of the Mad Queen, Daenerys going just batshit crazy. What I have a problem with is that it happens in an instant, just like everything in the past 2 seasons. It's just teleportation. Just things are instantly happening. You have this buildup over years where they took an entire season for the Hound and Arya to travel from one end of Westeros to the other. And now we've got instances of just time travel going on in a blink of an eye. And you can get away with a little bit of that. You could, just to cut some time out. I understand that, but they really would have needed 2 full seasons. I don't agree with Arya killing the Night King, though I do believe Arya could do it. Same consensus as just about everybody else. Yes, Arya is capable. She's been trained. She's not a Mary Sue. She's had story arcs through training. Whatever you may think of them, she's had them. And so, yeah, I think that she could do it. But that was Jon's kill. That was Jon from the start. That's what his character was built to do. That's what we had been led to believe. And I think that's just a disservice to the actors and the story. Cersei dying like a bitch. Are you kidding me? If she's going to be the big boss at the end, why have her just huddle? Like she's standing impotently. Like every time we see her in the last 2 episodes, the 5th episode, she's just standing, and the 4th when they go to have the parlay. And Cersei Lannister, that's her father's daughter. If her father had been standing up there, if Tywin had been standing up there, he would have been launching everything that they had, spearing Tyrion right in front of them, going, shooting for that dragon. That's unbelievable. And that's a mistake, like many, due to time constraint. Didn't have to be like that. Could have built up to that point. The love story between Daenerys and Jon needed more time to flush it out. Could totally have been down with it. Needed more time. And Clegane Bowl was kind of unfulfilling. I'm glad that it happened. And Cersei dying. That was Arya's kill. That was Arya's kill. That was the list. We've been talking about this list for season after season. Cersei is always on that list. And I wanted to see that happen. I didn't agree with what they did with Jaime and Brienne. If they were going to keep Jaime up north, he should have stayed with Brienne. If they were going to have that thing, because that was fine, but they needed more time. Really, everything comes down to a little more time. And I'd like to mention hashtag Jeremy hates boobs, because I totally believe he hates boobs in that video, Jeremy Griggs of Geeks and Gamers. That was not sarcasm. You could try cover to sarcasm, buddy. But,
are you talking about the Arya video he did?
Oh, that Arya video he did. Yeah, next week he's like, I was just joking. I was just being sorry. Bull crap. You were sick as hell for 2 days. You were high up on all kinds of dope trying to fight your code. Legal dope. And you hate boobs. It's okay, Jeremy. You can accept it. You can embrace it. We understand. You hate boobs. Okay.
Hey, really quick, Steve, before we continue with this roundtable about Game of Thrones, I was going to ask, Ancient One was curious, I don't know if he means me or you, but the Fandom Menace font, do you know what that font is? Did you make your logo specifically? Or?
Well, that one right there came from, I think Ethan made that, and I just threw volume 1 under it. I don't have a cover artist. I'm working on that. I've been fooling around with paint trying to make cover for it, and my availability to pay anybody is non-existent. Really, this is completely me. I've reached out and had people try and help me with editing and other things like that haven't been able to really follow through. And I don't blame them. People just have lives, but it's just, this is all me. So whenever I'm constantly editing, I'm constantly reading these things over. By the time I'm through and put this book out, I'm going to be sick of looking at this book.
What I would do. ancient one, what I've done before when I've tried to figure out how to make fonts, just Google, like Phantom Menace font or Star Wars font or whatever. That's how I figured it out.
Yeah, sorry, I strayed away from that question. That was
No,
the
no, no,
question.
you're
Wasn't
fine. You're fine. Because I assume the volume one is probably just what Times New Roman.
Yeah, yeah.
But the Fandom Menace, yeah, it looks like its own specific font. So yeah, I would just do that. But no, with the love story, a lot of people don't buy the love story between John and Daenerys. I actually buy it because the actors are very convincing to me. So yeah, it should have gone longer, and that way you have time, because look how hard it was. I think it took like 3 seasons for John to end up killing Egret,
Mm-hmm.
and that was this whole honor bound storyline with the Night's Watch, where it's like, you got to break some vows for the good of this order.
Yeah, right.
And with John, and that's, I like the, what do you call it? The parallel or the inverse or what have you with John, because he's always trying to live up to the Stark name, especially his father. He knows that he is the one stain on his father's name that never gets rectified to the realm. That he is not actually a bastard. That Stark, his one lie was actually
Yeah, that's a good point.
lie. It's very much an inverse of Ned Stark's main disdain in life is Jaime, because he doesn't. I don't know if the knowledge of Jaime saving his father and killing the king would change his view at all, especially with his noble lie. But yeah, he's always hated Jaime because he's the Kingslayer, and yet he's faced no repercussions because of his name. And so he always hates the guy, and John wants to live up to that, and he ends up becoming the Queenslayer, and having that stain on his name going forward. And also never, yeah, it's like, it doesn't make sense that either he would kill her because of his honor and stuff, and like you kind of get the sense that he's just going to go along with it despite his own personal feelings about the events. That's like, well, that's the queen. It's been his whole motive this whole time. And it kind of at least evens out, where it's like, well, she's kind of at a zero-sum total now after helping save the realm from the Night King. But it's like, if he's going to actually betray her, it just needs more time to be believable. George R. R. Martin wanted 10 seasons. His plan was 10 seasons to really flesh out the whole story, and Benioff and Weiss actually shortchanging the last 2 seasons, even though season 7 was pretty good, and had a good pacing, I think, overall, minus the time travel stuff.
Yeah.
I really liked it. But yeah, you're wanting more and stuff, and so that ratchets up the tension of the watcher of like, well, this is the end. How's it going to play out in 6 episodes? And it's like, what? But yeah, and Cersei too. I especially on second watch, being a parent, because I didn't watch the first few seasons as a parent, but rewatching it, I am. So I have a total different take looking at Tywin and Theon and Cersei. And so I never felt Cersei as a true villain, even if she is like the main bad of the story, until it ends up being Daenerys, really. But yeah, it's so rushed, like, and the editing as well. Like, you could have made it at least somewhat convincing if you just edited a few things, where it's like, just took 20 seconds to show like what's in her head and why she's torching the whole city. Give us a moment to be like, not just the idea of, oh, Cersei's trying to take advantage of my mercy by shielding herself for the people, but also maybe get in her head and think this idea of like, well, they've chosen to hole up in this city. They've chosen their fate. They're already against me. I'm going to break the wheel by annihilating everyone that goes along with the wheel. And that kind of philosophy is like that's interesting, especially seeing a tyrant having that justification. Just, yeah, a few, like I've said it multiple times. I was on John Talk's stream, and I had a whole like a wine-sized bottle of Game of Thrones beer and 2 glasses of rye whiskey, and I was still able to tell a better story with what they gave us in just a few minutes of like, well, if you just did this, this, and this, I would have still bought your story.
Whatever was in that Starbucks coffee is what did it to her. There was something in that Starbucks that just made her nuts.
Yeah, but especially killing Cersei that way, and just, it's like, I guess they're trying to, given the characters she's been built up as, and the disdain for anyone besides her family.
Right, she destroyed the entire religious district.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, I guess like I can kind of see what they're trying to convey, where it's like this cold-hearted bitch is just breaking down. That's how like chaotic the situation has gotten. But it's like I don't buy it, you know.
So what you're saying is your expectations were subverted.
Ah,
There it
God,
is.
Yeah,
the
yeah,
the
like a
bane of the
surprise finger in
fandom
the butt.
menace, the bane of the fandom menace existence.
Yeah,
Yep.
right.
Yep.
Yeah.
I
Well,
just saw
they
a tweet
definitely left.
actually. I just saw a tweet actually of or someone said, "Who did this?" And it's says the Three Stooges, and it's someone grafted Ryan Johnson, Benioff, and Weiss's face on the three characters.
I just tweeted a Vanilla Ice remix of
Oh, that's a great
Game of
one.
Thrones. Oh, it was so funny. I loved it.
I gotta check that out.
Yeah, yeah. What's crazy is someone took the time to find different people saying specific words that are in the lyrics of the song. And so it's
Wow.
like a huge edit of each line or each word lyrically. And so that was a work of love for us. So really appreciate that. Having edited some stuff and taken the time to like splice quick pictures to go with the narrative. Yeah, I really take my hat off to someone that took the time to write down, like, all right,
Right.
this at this point, I got to download this clip and this clip and this clip. Holy shit. But yeah, Ancient One, or sorry, Snowdub and Red Gaze, yeah, get y'all's takes on this whole storytelling debacle of season 8.
Well, I'd kind of like to hear what the reasoning is behind 6 episodes. You know, if they were going to cut it 2 seasons short, could they at least expand to 10 episodes, maybe, to try to, try to expand on something? But yeah, it was extremely rushed. And what I was telling you last time that you had me on, when everybody was freaking out over episode 3, I didn't entirely hate it. I understand where everybody was coming from, but then episode 4 happened, and episode 5, and then the coup de grace, and yeah, that awful. Yeah, it was very rushed as a season, and I don't really understand why they wouldn't expand that a few more episodes just to try to make some sense of the story. But don't forget, we had that amazing shot of Daenerys with dragon wings behind her. That makes up for everything.
Yeah,
Oh my God.
I was telling people in Mary's chat where they're like, "Oh, that was a really cool shot." And it's like, yeah, but if you look at Star Wars is even though it takes kind of like the format of, I'd say, Lord of the Rings, like an epic of good and evil and whatnot. There's some very obvious imagery of good and evil, black and white, etc. You see with Luke where he's wearing black, you think maybe he's gone dark like his father, but you see underneath it's white. Those are all deliberate elemental storytelling of the symbolism and stuff that you can get from artistic choices. And Mustafar is a great one where it's like it's kind of an obvious parallel to the story of Satan and him like ruling in hell and whatnot.
Yeah.
You expect that from Star Wars. You expect deliberate, obvious
Mhm.
storytelling through imagery. But in Game of Thrones, the whole thing is about gray, where it's like Cersei isn't as bad as you think to some degree because she's just a crazy mother that's lost her children. Now she doesn't give a fuck anymore. Like the incest of her and Jaime and of Daenerys and Jon Snow are more convincing and at least fantasy wise, you can go along with those relationships more so than you can with like Raylo or something, or even just other bad non-incestuous or non-abusive relationships. Like you buy the love story. And so for them to use like this very obvious, like, get it, she's Hitler and she's like
Right.
the devil, it's like, oh, this is not Game of Thrones, fuck you.
But it's funny that you mention Star Wars because everyone's been comparing this to The Last Jedi. And if you remember, for the longest time, everybody's like, The Last Jedi sucks. And they're like, well, yeah, but wasn't that shot cool where they went light speed through the Star Destroyers? Yeah, now we have this shot. So it's an interesting parallel that just keeps on happening.
Yeah, I mean, I don't get because where is it? The Senate saying they wanted their Star Wars fast. It doesn't make sense though, because they got 3 years, more than 3 years, got like 3.5 years till the release of what I'm calling Episode 10. I know it's not a continuation, but I'm just calling it that for the time being. like they got a good amount of time to sit there and start pre-production, writing this plot, and hammering it out with the story group, make sure it fits and whatnot.
Mm.
And like filming's only to be like 6 months plus secondary photography afterwards, emergency reshoots, and editing. Like Last Jedi had a whole year to edit and do any reshoots. So like they set these timelines up to like take their time at least with creating it, even if it isn't good, presentation. So it doesn't make sense that they would rush so hard, even with them making a trilogy. It's like you've seen Disney doesn't put the time in so far, at least, to tell a cohesive trilogy plot. So it doesn't make sense that they would be rushed, and that Game of Thrones has already been done. It's just like the editors and stuff finishing it out and doing the CGI. So I'm just at a loss of like why they would shortchange it, and they had it short, so it's like you had plenty of time to tell a good cohesive story. And it's just like seeing them direct this finale, and you see like that close up, it's like obvious, like the build-ups there, we know the spoilers, and you see the delivery, and it's like obvious she's going to get stabbed, and then it's just like it's so cliche, and then like Clegane Bowl cliche. The whole like I was expecting them to subvert expectations in the way they killed her, where it's like she's giving her big speech, la di da. You see like the way they're filming her from behind. It's like, oh my god, Jon Snow's just gonna whack her head off right here, and it's like, oh no, you get this like Romeo and Juliet ending, and it's like,
But why didn't Sandor grab her neck and snap it either? I'm sorry. Why didn't he do that? Why didn't he kill her right there? Your Grace, and let her pass by.
I can't fathom the whole idea behind just shoving it all together real fast, because what they had like 50 plus million or something per episode, and so they had plenty of money. And I'll never say that the cinematography of every season, including this one, is gorgeous. I love it. I think it's beautiful. But that said, I think what happened was, R.R. Martin walked up to Dumb and Dumber. He said, okay, here's your plot points. All right. Yeah. It's all about the Starks. Arya's going to kill Night King. Jon Snow's going to kill Daenerys after she turns mad. And then they put them off on the wall. There you go. So they got like 3-4 plot points. They took it all and blew their load in episode 3 and episode 6. There you go. So they didn't have any texture to flesh it out with. So they just made their own. And yeah, well, you can see what we got. Well, can't wait for the Star Wars movies, guys.
That's a sticky texture.
Going back real quick, y'all were talking about Jeremy in that Arya video. I totally bought his disdain, his displeasure with that, because it was like a lot of people were and it is kind of creepy to some degree, where it's like if you have a lot of these things figured out, it's like, all right, we can't cast Sansa, she's probably like 15, cast Arya when she's 14. You get to like at some point you're like, yeah, we're gonna get a sex scene with you, and it's just like you're already planning that with like an underage girl, and it's just at least in our time, in modern day, last 200 years, it's weird to plan that with young people.
Something that was acceptable 200, 300 years ago and beyond, right? And then we're totally in a different society at this point.
Yeah, the abstractness of our society, it's made it, we live longer, so it's like we've adjusted by saying you're not an adult till this point, and so it's like, all right, these are children in our society, so it's like it's a little weird that like this, you can at least conceive the idea that they might have known this from the beginning, like at some point we want to do a sex scene with you, but you're not old enough yet, and we're not in Europe to film or whatever. Like
that's a really weird point that I've never actually considered.
Yeah, it's like, this is. No, it didn't bother me because it's like I didn't know she was 22. I thought she was just like 18. But it's just like I never had the hots for Arya. I remember this. Well, I won't get there, but there was this weird guy when I was in the army deployed, where he's like from the get go he had the hots for Arya. I'm just like, what? That's looks like a freaking boy.
That's a child.
Yeah, but. Yeah, it's just I've never got the. It's funny too. I showed a clip in my video, a screenshot of the article from BuzzFeed, where it's like these feminist wackos, these libtards, they're so hard pressed that their hero is a lesbian or asexual. It's like I don't care what they showed in the film. We know she's a lesbian. And it's like, Okay.
What does that matter?
Were any of these groups demanding representation before they were told they needed to demand representation?
Not even that. Like I remember one of the first streams I ever did. I had Rookie Critic on for my first Utter Chaos, and he's only watched like 1 or 2 episodes at the time, and he's only watched like half the first season at this point. But I was telling him, I was looking through the ratings and stuff, saying how good the show is, and it's like SJWs can't tear this show apart because it's got everything they want, just not how they want it delivered. They're not championing feminism through Brienne or Arya. It's just these are people that females that don't want to conform to the norms, and they suffer because of it to some degree until they finally become triumphant in some degree, but they still realize some form of femininity. And then you got like Sansa or Cersei, who's older and lived longer, experienced more, where it's like they wanted to just be dumb princesses, the trope and stuff, and then they realize the reality of men and stuff in this era, where it's like you got to get some tenacity if you want to be more than a hole for your suitor.
Yeah, and newsflash, that's not new. I mean, these story points have been around for ages.
Yeah, it's disappointing. I'm disappointed with the reaction of some of these actors, where it's like, I love Sophie Turner. Since her storyline with King Joffrey dying and her starting to develop, especially after Ramsay, I've bought her character more. But from the beginning, I just wanted her fucking dead. I didn't care about Stark, and so it took him a long time to actually make you like her, in my opinion. Arya, I've always defended her character, but I've never liked her. But it's said that they're like reactions, because I'm excited for Dark Phoenix, but now I'm like, I don't want to support this bitch that wants to crap on the fans because we're disappointed. It's becoming just like Lucasfilm. It's like this is like the it's HBO. This is like the anti-corporate, even if it's owned by I think Warner Brothers. Like they're the anti-corporate. They're all about the fans. It's why they're like kind of independent. They do these like hard shows, and so it's just like, man, it's infecting everywhere, and it's just goes to show you that like Hollywood. You've even seen it reflected in like Grace Randolph reviews, where it's like Hollywood they're not adjusting well to the fact that fans have an opinion that can be like explicitly said to them right from the get-go, like right after a scene happens. It's like, fuck this show.
Yeah, and it's like nobody learns their lesson. I mean, I get that a petition's not actually going to do anything. They're not actually going to reshoot an entire series or entire season. But doesn't that tell you something? You got over 1 million signatures here saying this is shit. Well, maybe, I don't know, at least try to do better. Maybe keep your mouth shut, Or I'm not going to ask for an apology, but, just a little fucking respect.
Yeah, and so we don't even have problems with the actors. It's just like what they were given. Like they did well with what they got.
Right.
Yep, absolutely. The way that I look at it is, many of these actors have been around each other for near a decade. They've become friends. They've become friends with the crew. Everybody involved in that project. So even though we're not critical of them as actors, performing their art and just doing what they were given, making the best of it. Still, when you have people that are attacking the producers, the writers, and the set crew and things like, or when they feel that that's being attacked, they're going to feel some kind of way about it. So I don't look at this as much as a Lucasfilm attacking the fan situation. I look at it as just a defensive reaction to their friends being attacked for their creative decisions, or however you look at it. So I'm saying, give it a little bit, let that calm down, let it sink in, that and see where it goes from there. If they continue to make comments about the fandom, then they're going down the woke road. But if not, to me, I would defend my friends.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just waiting for like I don't know, Arya or Sophie Turner or someone to hop off of social media and be like, "Oh, these bigot trolls." And it's like, wait, they're all white, so it's like, what,
Well, that's because I'm sorry.
I was gonna say you might be able to spin sexist, but other than that, I don't know what you could spin from that.
I don't think it's really a spin. What I am trying to do myself is not be hypersensitive. We don't want to let ourselves become SJWs and the Fandom Menace. We've got to do what we say, which is, have common sense, be a part of the common sense crowd. And So when I look at things like that, I try to take a step back, look at it from another person's perspective, see how they would view it. Lucasfilm we know is toxic from the root, from all of it right now. Kathleen Kennedy's company culture that's created this toxicity that attacks the fandom, and in Comicsgate, and that's already been happening. So there's already a culture of it that exists, but the cast and crew of Game of Thrones up until now has really been isolated from that, I think, due to where they shoot and the company, the HBO. But so when I hear something come out of the actors of Game of Thrones right now, I'm just thinking, okay, they're letting off steam. They're defending people that they've known for several years. It's made them money that they've developed friendships with. But like you said, if next week we start getting called toxic, racist, misogynist, whatever, then yeah, they've gone down the woke road and screw them.
Okay, I was waiting if Snow or Rick Gazer respond, but
sorry. Well, yeah. I understand defending your friends, but I mean, as we've seen before, it's just going to snowball, and it'll probably get worse.
I think you mean Snow Dub.
Well, I'm not going to bring Snow Dub into that particular situation. But,
hey, let's keep my sex life out of this.
Hey, let's not.
Hey, Snow, I was wondering, do you have any yellow in your DNA?
Only when I hang out with my racist Dobermans.
Well, I know it took me a minute to get that out because I was like, well, he usually presents Jolly, but he is Snow Dub. So I was wondering if like your channel is essentially two different characters because of your avatar.
Yeah, well, I am Snow Dub, and then Jolly, the conservative puppet, is our VJ.
Okay, making sure.
Yeah.
I've never
He's
actually
not
bridged that. Never actually bridged that thought until now. So it's like, wait a minute.
Yeah, Jolly was here, but he went out back with a couple other guys, and I guess they had some crack or something. So he's still out there.
The multiple personality disorder.
I love channels that do that. I love creators that do that kind of content. That's why one of the reasons why I love Doomcock so much is that character. It reminds me of classic science fiction that my dad brought me up on that he used to love, and just everything about that character, that show is just that. Yeah, I fell in love with it the first time I saw it.
Yeah, it's funny. It took me just, okay, so I've had people where it's like they're like, oh, hot topic. Now I get it. Like the store, it's like it's all about what's the hot topic. It's like it's kind of obvious, but it goes over your head potentially. Lost my train of thought because I had to explain that. But
we were talking about Jeremy hates boobs originally. That's what we were talking about.
No. I remember that. Yeah, I really think he was just trying to save face. Or like, oh, I was being sarcastic. You're all a bunch of idiots. Yeah, you're just trying to extrapolate with that whole Brie Larson video.
Yeah, either way,
I didn't deliver well, and it's like, no, your body language is too obvious. We've known you for over a year now. Like we know when you really think something.
Mm-hmm.
Because when he's been sarcastic, he's been very obvious with like that. Jeremy loves the penis. Right. That video. That was his sarcasm. Where it's like obvious. And yeah, he's just trying to save face. I think because all the hate he got.
Good.
I was going to ask Steve.
I'm sorry. Go on. I wanted to say good, because he's not going to live that down, not for a while. I'm going to make sure to keep hammer that. When I'm in his live streams, you're going to see hashtag Jeremy hates boobs. That's going to happen. That's going to be a thing.
Oh, okay. I remember what I was going to say. So Doomcock, it was just like a week ago, I realized like Overlord DVD. I thought that was like a format name or something, like, about entertainment. So let me put, it's like Black Angus. I put reviews in there. So if you see my channel in the comments, you might check me out because I say reviews. It's not just I'm Black Angus. It's like reviews. I review shit. So maybe, yeah. Even though I only go by Black Angus. But yeah, I realized like, oh, Overlord Dictor Van Doomcock. It looks like DVD. It just now clicks. It just now clicked like a week ago. I'm like, oh, I get it now.
Yeah,
so I was always like, why is it DVD?
It would be Blu-ray, Overlord Blu-ray, but he's a boomer, so.
Yeah.
Overlord VHS.
Overlord VHS.
That's his
Overlord
grandpa.
Betamax.
That's his grandpa.
Overlord Laserdisc.
Oh, someone should make some parody accounts like that. I was going to ask you, Steve. So I might have asked you before, but for the new members watching, how did you come into the Fandom Menace?
I went to see The Last Jedi. Well, let's see. I stepped out of the. I follow politics, as you could tell from the first half hour of our conversation, and
No, that's fine.
until about 2014, and I got disillusioned with politics because I just didn't like what I was seeing, and I voted for Obama and I supported Obama, and then, like you said, Black Lives Matter initially started out as one thing, but it quickly became a racist movement, like a counter KKK, in my opinion.
Oh,
and so,
as a black guy, I agree because but I was also in the army and stuff, and grew up in Oklahoma, which is sort of a melting pot. So I don't look. It's like, I know you're black, I know you're Indian, but it's like I just look at persons,
Right. Well, I mean, that comes with when you just live in a naturally multicultural neighborhood, But what was I saying? I'm sorry. So 2014, I stopped following politics, and then the Ghostbusters 2016 thing happened. I barely caught wind of it. I had totally regressed into a normie, and I just been like, I don't want to see that. Like, that was basically my opinion of it. And then the Star Trek Discovery came out, and I have to admit, I'm a bigger Trekkie than I am a Star Wars fan. I think it's just what it is. I love Star Wars just as much, but I know more and get more out of Star Trek.
Nobody's perfect, Stephen.
Yeah, I understand. It's okay. So when Discovery came out, I was like, what is this? What is this shit? Like, who are these? These are not Klingons. I want to see Klingons. Where's Gowron? Where's Martok? Where's Worf? And then TLJ happened. I took my son to go see it, and we were really stoked. Even though I didn't really like The Force Awakens, I didn't like the direction they were going, and he loved Kylo Ren. So we were going to go see Jedi Master Luke Skywalker and Kylo Ren in The Last Jedi, and we were excited about it. It was the first time I could take my son to a Star Wars movie. This is also reflected in another YouTuber that I got together with that helped put a chapter in, The Gospel According to Mark with a C. He went through a similar experience, and one of the first videos of his that I saw was that video explaining about how he went with his son, and that Star Wars had always been their thing, like me and my son, and it broke us. It's just like, what is this? He took more of it away than I did, because it was a lot of flash and everything. But for me, it really broke me the way that they were representing these characters and not paying respect, and the fact they turned out the EU. And I liked a lot of the EU, and I understood them doing it, but get people in here that take the best from it and adapt it. And they just hadn't done any of that whatsoever, nor did they have the scope from the Old Republic. Okay, I understand there's a difference between the original trilogy and the prequel trilogy, but the prequel trilogy expanded upon the lore and expanded upon our understanding of the different systems and the Senate and everything, and they just threw it away. They didn't have time for it. And that's when I was looking through YouTube in January of 18. Normally just for a music video or a history of science video. That's really all I used it for. And then I saw Geeks and Gamers, Jeremy Griggs, and he was talking about The Last Jedi. Like, he had finally it was a video where he'd finally come to the realization. That was the very first video I saw. And I was like, I understand that man's pain. And so I subscribed. And that one subscription led to me meeting all of you and supporting this movement. Just growing with it, watching as Geeks and Gamers evolved, eventually watching World Class, and then Ethan, Comic Artist Pro Secrets. What really connected me to the audience was I had written a letter to Bob Iger because I was pissed. And Jeff had said, we want to hear your criticisms. We want to hear what you have to say. And so I sent him a copy of that letter, a carbon copy, to Jeff Hicks, and he read it. And due to his excellence at creating videos, because Jeff on his own creates the best videos, he also incorporated my letter into it, and it gave him his first million view
That
video.
was you. Okay. I remember hearing about that. I didn't remember your name though. So
wow. Yeah, and he had emailed me back and said, "Can I use this video? Can I, and everything, asking permission." But I was at work. I didn't get back to him fast enough. He just went ahead and did it, which was totally fine. But that's why I sent it to him. But he left my name out, and I was like, "Shit! I missed an opportunity to sell books." like right then and there. But still, honestly, I was very proud of that. Like it's been just something that I've loved. And I also sent another letter in that he had used at a later date, and so that connected me to him. And then everything Ethan was saying made sense to me. He's from Jersey too. Like I'm a Delco boy. I grew up in Delaware County, Pennsylvania, and so we have the same kind of grit, that part of the East Coast. We all have the same kind of attitude. So I really connected with him and learned more about Comicsgate and what they had been going through. And that's when I got plugged back into politics. Also, the Trump campaign. There's a part in my book where I explain a trip that I took, a professional trip through Pennsylvania, through the Pennsylvania countryside. My friend is a liberal. And I'm center left. I just didn't care. I was a normie. And we're just driving through the Pennsylvania countryside, and we're constantly seeing Trump signs, Trump, Trump, Trump. And every time we passed one, he would be like, and talk about racist and racist. And so, we're driving for hours at a time. So every time we pass a sign, I'm like, Trump, Trump. And every time I do it, it just drives him nuts, and he starts going off. And then we pass like that one Clinton sign, and I'd be like, oh, look, Clinton. Like he's my friend. Don't get me wrong. I love him. He's a dear friend. I love him to this day. But it's just watching him seeing his body language, like he had fully bought into the MSNBC, CNN narrative that they were running. He totally bought into it. And I, being a normie, heard the echoes of that and only understood it. That's why control over the media, control the mind, because I didn't pay attention to anything at that time, and I was only hearing just what other people were saying because they were being programmed by the media for a certain narrative. And so the narrative was Clinton was going to win because everybody loved her. She had the greatest poll numbers ever. And, Trump was a racist misogynist. Nobody was going to vote for him, only rednecks and bad people, whatever. And so, we're going through the countryside, and I'm seeing Trump, 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 Clinton, Trump, 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 Clinton. And I'm just like, wow, maybe CNN's lying. That's the first thought I had. But that culture that culture that was created by them to get out of politics, that culture that was created by them and then pushed by the media and then pushed through entertainment and had been for years and then pushed into finally the on-screen, the cinematic middle finger that is the Last Jedi, excreted by the talentless hack Ruin Johnson, really shit all over me. And the one thing that these people don't understand, I'm sorry to go off on a little bit of a tangent here, but the one thing that these people don't understand is that geekdoms found refuge in certain things. We found refuge in Dungeons and Dragons. We found it in Star Wars, in Star Trek, in Magic the Gathering. Like, geeks have always found that niche away from the bullies of society. The over alpha males, the true betas, the one that have to prove themselves all the time, and athletes, and like actual athletes. And I'm not saying they're all bad people, but there's a certain air that goes around those circles, and geeks were not welcomed. You were a nerd, you were dejected. And now these people, it feels like once again, bullies have control of something that we love. And they're kicking us out. They're rejecting us, dejecting us again from society, from places that we loved and we have cultured and we have built. We have helped to fund the creation of. So that was my main motivator. And then it was stories like the attack on Jeremy Hambley from The Quartering by Matt Lauder, things like Mark Wade coming at your boy Zach, and trying to keep him from publishing his works, like things like that. Ruin Johnson in his round-headed mouth. Load that asshole onto a trebuchet and fire him into the sun. I wish Ethan would say that again. And these, they're bullies. They're calling us toxic and misogynist and this and that and giving us labels. But what are they doing? Like, they're constantly attacking the fans. They're using their garbage to your website subsidiaries to attack the fans. And to a normie, like I had become, they're only hearing the echoes. They're only, control the media, control the mind. They're only hearing the narrative. And that's why it's important that the Fandomists stand up, because I guarantee all of you that there are millions more like us out there. And all we need to do is keep doing our thing, keep speaking our mind, keep fighting this bullshit, and they will come to us. They will become a part of us where we don't care what you are. We don't give a damn where you come from, what language you speak, what nation you come from, what sexuality you are. Everyone's opinion is valid. Just keep the extremist bullshit out.
Yeah.
Here, here.
You know, it's funny.
Excellent. Excellent.
I did a video, one of my first videos about the Solo film. Sorry, Han Solo. And yeah, if y'all haven't, I know it's old and sort of a dated topic, but I'm really proud of like the knowledge I try to give people about like film history and like kind of the angle of like this is what film can be. It can be propaganda and stuff with the whole like Pando Lando and stuff and why it's a problem. That was like one of the main points. But this whole kind of history lesson from a film class I took about like where film went from before, like unless you had language to solidify a nation, religion couldn't really spread. And you see with Christendom, and then again with Christendom with the printing press and so on, and then like entertainment starts to take like I think entertainment is becoming like the new religion, at least in a loose kind of secular way, where it's like something we all adhere to. And this is I told John Tux, and he kind of agreed. Thought it was interesting that my take with like Star Wars especially is that it has the Force itself is kind of a reflection of all religion, whether you're a Buddhist that is an atheist philosophy / religion, all the way to like Christianity, Islam, etc. Everyone can take something spiritual from what's presented in the Lucas Star Wars saga. And so when you start screwing with canon, you start saying, well, none of this matters and this and that, and you present the duality in a nihilistic way, it becomes heresy. And so it's like this schism is more than just like a Trump-Hillary divide with The Last Jedi. It's a lot like the split of like of Judaism, Christianity, or like the schism of like Catholics and Orthodox in the 1000s. It is a split that will never rectify, I do not think. Even if JJ kind of turns back the saga to like the Force Awakens in that era before Last Jedi happened, there's going to be this split where the SJWs will still try to cling to it and keep screaming to get like their Star Wars that they got from The Last Jedi. And yeah, it's going to be a episode 9, and then what happens with Benioff and why Star Wars. It's going to be I think a deciding factor for which way Star Wars leans into. You'll never get like, I've kind of resigned to like, all right, I'm just going to try to find the entertainment quality from a franchise now. It's not Lucas Star Wars. I've kind of compartmentalized that era. Like, this is real Star Wars. Now it's just a sci-fi saga without heart. But yeah, it's like, it's been a problem.
Well, I'd like to add on to what you were saying earlier, Stephen, or Stephen. Stephen or Stephen? I'm sorry.
Either or. It's spelled Stephen. You can use either.
Okay. Well, Stephen it is. I'd like to add to that what you were saying about your son. And I have a very similar experience. My son's 8 years old, and he grew up as one of his first movies was Empire Strikes Back. He fell in love with the Darth Vader character and the Luke Skywalker character. And we made sure to get him every lightsaber that he wanted, and he had to have all the latest, Star Wars Legos, and he was a real fan. And I can never forget, he was a little traumatized by the Han Solo death. We went and seen that. He was pretty young. And so he was a little worried going into Last Jedi. He asked me to promise him that Luke Skywalker wouldn't die. Oh yeah. And I thought, okay, there's another movie coming, Part 9. There's no way they're going to off the main freaking character, in the middle of this trilogy. Oh boy, was I wrong. And because of that, it was like a Daenerys, a light switch. He went from loving Star Wars to I don't give a shit, and he doesn't care anymore. He doesn't care.
Snow.
Yeah.
Did you perchance tell your son no one's ever really gone?
Oh. Well, it's funny that you say that because he recently watched, and I did a little reaction on Twitter. You can check it out if you scroll down my page. But he did a little reaction to that remake of the Vader Obi-Wan fight, and I hadn't seen him excited about Star Wars in so long until he saw that, and it was like a clue, a sign that this is what we need. You could bring the nostalgia, you can bring the old characters back and make them better and make a better story, and not chop their wings off and completely feminize them and throw them in a cave for an entire movie. It was,
It's funny you say that, Snow, because at least so far I've tried to keep Star Wars from my son. Like, he knows Darth Vader. Like, I got one of those Gentle Giant animated version statues, and I got Star Wars all over the house, so he knows imagery somewhat, and he starts some of the songs. So for a while I used to like march like da 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 da, like off tune. It was cute. But because he's Lucas, I want to preserve Star Wars for him. I want to like him to actually realize the first time, like, oh my god, Darth Vader is his father, and like see that reaction, not just have him like watch it years and years and then like it clicks in, but it's kind of like whatever. But my wife was trying to play because like she doesn't care at all about like our concerns and stuff. She wants to view Disney as just this magical thing she's grew up with, and fine, whatever. But she was trying to play those dumbass Star Wars shorts from that Disney YouTube channel. My son didn't give a shit, but I played the SC-38 Reimagine, and he was like, "Whoa!" He thought that was the coolest shit. So yeah, I mean, you can try to manufacture this stuff and kind of try to retool it for your agenda or whatever. But you see it firsthand what kids react to, and you see with the toys. Like, there's a reason, not just because adults aren't buying toys, but the kids, they see this shit and like they don't care to have Rey or maybe Rey just because she has the lightsaber and she's done some action. But like besides Kylo and Rey and maybe the Praetorian Guards at best, they don't want Hux, they don't want Phasma, they don't want, because they don't do anything. They don't want Rose or DJ or any of this crap. Like,
who the hell does?
They get it. They get it right from the beginning.
Yeah. Yep.
I mean, and it's the thing too. You see with Marvel, like at least with even Captain Marvel, I'm sure kids react better, at least to the action of that, because it's still someone fighting and having some sort of battle or dilemma. They're going to respond to that before they'll respond to new Star Wars.
Now, guys, I got to pipe in here for a second. I'm having a little difficulty believing that your children are not interested in this new Star Wars, because we're told over and over again that us old farts shouldn't be having such a bitch fit over these movies that were made for children. They were made for children, so they have to love them, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, you bet.
Pando Lando.
Sorry. I don't know if you just saw Darth Vicious.
Droid sex is for kids. You didn't know?
Oh, Jesus.
Darth Vicious just said, did y'all see the picture of Lando and Poe in the cockpit of the Falcon? How long before we start hearing about Land Poe?
No.
Now, do you think Lando's going to try to insert himself in the Falcon at some point?
If he does, that will be the most comic relief moment ever in Star Wars history.
I personally met Billy D. Williams about a year and a half ago at a Comic-Con.
Cool.
And I had to ask him when I walked up to him. I got a picture, autograph, all that. I had to ask him. I was like, "You're not a pansexual." And he looked at me and he goes, "Colt 45." I love That's all I had to hear.
Well, it's possible that was the name of his new droid.
Colt 45. Yeah, I guess you're right. You're right.
Well, I mean,
he definitely didn't say C-3PO. So
I mean, isn't Colt 45 contained in aluminum? Yeah, you can put those pieces together.
If it's got a hole.
Yeah, well, if you see a Colt 45 commercial from the 80s, you'll see the toxic masculinity just blowing up.
I used to work with a lady who had a picture of Billy D up at her workstation. She worshipped Billy D. That was her generation, from the Black Cinema generation, man, and she adored him. And so I would talk. I like Lando Calrissian. He's not one of my favorites, but I love all the characters for some reason or another. So it always struck me funny whenever I passed by and talked to her, and it created a friendship at work.
One moment, guys. I'm gonna mute real quick. Y'all continue the combo.
All right.
Incoming call, huh? But yeah, I don't get the whole pansexual thing. That whole thing doesn't make sense to me. I don't know if I just have a feeble mind that can't wrap around the idea of it. But am I getting it straight? It means you'll just have sex with anything, like anything.
Well, I had to look that up because I actually misread the term as it's meant to be in a letter that I wrote, and thankfully Jeff didn't read. I think well, Jeff read that part. Yes, actually he did. But so from my understanding, is a pansexual is a person that will sleep with anyone, any type of person, whether they're
Hey guys,
girl, boy.
I'll be right back. I just gotta do some daddy duty real quick.
Hey man, take care of that
Oh,
business.
spank it time.
But yeah, so like it doesn't matter if they're gay, straight, male, female, whatever. It's like they'll bang anybody. But the thing is that when Dong Lover talked about it, he was using it in a whole different term. You're talking about droids. That ain't human. So
Right.
that opens up that interpretation to a whole host of other questions. So does it mean having sex with anything? A tree? Are you Harvey Weinstein jacking off in a plant? What are you doing? So that was just John Kasdan trying to virtue signal, and it backfired.
Well, now there was also another point raised in Solo that droids are just people too. So
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
why not? Why not
We're
have
on
Adam?
revolution now? Yeah.
Yeah, man.
I don't get it.
Neither
It
do
just
I.
doesn't make any sense to me, especially when you're trying to, obviously pander to the younger generation. A lot of them, they haven't had their minds, adapted to this kind of talk and this type of, lifestyle yet. They're still thinking about, what's the coolest new toy or the coolest new video game. They don't care about what the sexual preferences of these characters, and that's what just blows my mind. It's like the bat. I don't want to get off track here, but Batman, Batman. Same thing. This is a comic book character, which means it directly, goes to kids, and you're shoving your sexuality into it. It's like kids don't care about that. At least the ones that haven't hit puberty yet. So what is your point here? What are you trying to do to our children?
I don't know. But when I was a kid, I was always thinking, was He-Man banging Battle Cat?
Yeah. Oh yeah. That always went through my mind. Yeah,
Oh yeah.
Oh, He-Man and Orko get down. Behind the gray skull. Yeah.
Yep. What's under that floating
that's
skirt?
You bet. I just don't get it. And it's for years now, they've been trying to shove it down our throats. And I'm so glad that the Phantom Menace is here, because I actually hit a point in my life where I was like, is this, am I seeing this? Am I just blind or what is going on with our entertainment? And then like you, I think I found world-class bullshitters first, but I started hopping along, finding all these, different little channels. They're all saying the same thing I'm thinking. And I'm like, okay, I'm not alone. This is wrong.
Yeah. And that's, and thankfully that inspired all of us to do something. You guys started channels, and now you're working on it and doing your thing, and I'm writing books. Like it's a wave that's riding out. This isn't just the original core of YouTubers. This is expanding outward, and thankfully the people who began this movement, they don't claim it as their own. They don't say I am the Fandom Menace. They say we are Fandom Menace, and that speaks a lot to the culture that's being created in our fan collective.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. And people keep saying that this is going to peter out. It's not going to last that long. Well, it's been 2 years at minimum at this point. And yeah, Comicsgate and the Fandom Menace have kind of bonded over the same nonsense. And it's just, yeah, like you said, it's just getting stronger. Like I myself just sat back for a while and just observed. I'd pipe in on live streams every now and then, but eventually I was like, screw it, I'm going to get in this. And I think a lot of other people are too. And here we are. It's just growing and growing, and hopefully it keeps growing.
It's going to keep growing. It's going to attract more of like-minded people that are eventually they're going to keep hammering this at people's heads that people can't stay asleep for long. Normies just can't sleep forever. You've got to understand. At some point, this isn't as good as it used to be, and I think the reason is this. And I am hoping, and this is just me thinking, me wishing that my book inspires other writers within the Fandom Menace to start writing, and that we can all start working together and promoting each other and helping each other, just like the YouTubers help each other. Continue that culture of helping one another in the Fandom Menace, looking out for each other. And as that grows, it's going to reach new spheres of people. It's going to bring people back to where it started, to you guys, and like that's what I want to see. I want to see 5 years down the road people not going to Rotten Tomatoes anymore because that's just a known shill site. people going to other websites, people looking at for, Disney Star Wars is dumb for information, and looking at geeksandgamers.com for movie reviews. That's what I think is going to happen. We're going to just become legit as long as we stay true to our ideals, which is everyone's opinion counts, and we're not always going to agree, and you better be able to debate, or better be able to take criticism, because we're not bullies, but we have opinions.
Right, right. And it's funny. Yeah, it's funny you said you hope other people are writing books and all that. At some point, about a year after the Phantom, or not after the Phantom Menace, after The Last Jedi, at a point, I finally got tired of hearing, well, if you don't like it, it's not for you, or why don't you write something better? So at one point, I just got pissed off, and I said, fine, I will. And I've been working on a sci-fi fantasy novel ever since. And it's near completion. The first draft is near completion, but now I find myself also working on a comic book. This has really driven me to get involved and to actually do something and make something of myself. And that's not something I had the drive to do. So
that's great.
I guess we can say thanks. Thanks to all the critics and the bullies, and we got up off our asses now.
Yes, sir. And to touch on, kind of like the Godfathers, I would say, of the Phantom Menace. I like to call them the Godfathers. Like Uncle E and Jeremy and Jeff at World Class. But we're all slowly watching those channels grow to the point of where they're starting to combat the shills. And all of us got a vote in right now trying to get Jeremy past John Campea in subscribers. He already gets more views, more money, more, comments, more, fan interaction than John Campea, but we want to get his subs past him so we can make a statement. And this is, every statement we make is just inching us closer towards really pushing entertainment back to where it needs to be. And that is good storytelling and fuck your politics. I don't care about your left or your right, and it doesn't really matter. We don't want to hear it. We don't want to hear Trump shoved into our Star Wars just as much as we don't want to hear feminism. So and that's as simple as we can get.
How does John Campea have that many followers to begin with? Because before this whole Disney Star Wars debacle, I watched Collider when he was on there. I didn't like him then. This guy came out, talking Batman versus Superman was the greatest movie of all time. Who can listen to this guy? His opinions are crap.
I think he was one of the main creators of Collider, I believe, originally. And that's why he kind of, when he finally jumped ship, I think he, took a good chunk of that subscriber base to follow him. And I used to watch Collider, and, I didn't like Campea, and I can't remember that girl's name on there. She just drives me nuts. Perry Nemoff or whatever. I can't but yeah, man, after I found, the Geeks Gamer, stuff like that, I never watched Collider again. That was it for me. I was done. I was like, man, here's some real news.
Right.
Yeah, it's been some time for me, I'll tell you.
Gaze, I'd like to hear about your if you're willing to share, your story. I'd like to hear it sometime off air.
Oh, sure, absolutely.
Yeah, I love original science fiction. I'm a.
All right, guys, I'm back.
Hey, what's up,
There
Angus?
he is.
I had to end up changing a light bulb for my son. It's like, we don't have ones this small. And it was just a little rigmarole, but we figured it out. He's 3, so he's in the stage of not liking the dark sometimes.
Right.
You never know when, so.
He should have subverted his expectations and then half screwed it in so it flickers.
No, I was gonna
put him in an epileptic coma.
Steven, I was gonna ask you because this channel is not afraid to get into sports, like you see in my intro. You've been a lifelong Philly fan. I remember you saying.
Oh, Eagles! Eagles! Look, I was so happy. Oh, so I've watched the Philly special about 1,000 times. I've watched that Super Bowl about 1,000 times. I love it every single week.
Have you seen the? I don't know if you've researched, gone back in some of my videos. Have you seen my Eagles video?
I have not, but I will go back and look at it as soon as we're done.
It's kind of it ends up being my spin is, what does it mean to be an Eagle, and then I kind of showcase this history. And while I was doing this history of iconic moments, but always ultimately being second best at best, I realized the last time we won a championship was 1960 against the Packers. And I was researching a little bit about Lombardi, and it's that's the one loss Lombardi had in the playoffs was the 60 championship. And it's like, holy crap, was this like a penance for the sin of tarnishing
The Lombardi
perfect
curse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, see, I'm not from Philly, so I don't know if people talk
Oh
about
yeah. Oh, we every year. That's what every Dallas fan, every traitor in this area says. That's what anybody who doesn't like the Eagles, anybody they will. Well, not almost anybody. They will bring that up. You know, you're never going to get it. The Lombardi curse. You're never going to get it. You're never going to get it. That's all we hear. That's all I've heard since I was a kid. And then, you know, when McNabb went to the Super Bowl and we lost, that was a killer. That just killed me for a long time. But you know, Big Dick Nick, he handled business, and he, you know, and you had the defense the whole game. We just need one stop. Just need one stop. And they got that stop at the very end. We stripped that ball and we took his heart and that championship. So, yeah, I love that. Last year, you know, it's just there was a lot of the injuries that we had last year. We weren't able to come back from like we were the year before. I don't doubt the heart of anybody on that team. Just it just clicked for us. It just clicked for us 2 years ago, and we managed to get over our adversities and over our injuries. And people that stepped in acted like they were first string. You know, like everybody gave 110%. That was a spiritual moment, and that's because I'm an Eagles fan.
Yeah, you'll see in the video. I actually got a clip. I bawled because, you know, as opposed to being like from Philly, which great fans. I went there for the Wentz's rookie year when we beat the Steelers.
Well, an Eagles fan is an Eagles fan, Angus. You're one of the family, brother. You come on home anytime you want.
I'm from Oklahoma, so I chose my team in Cowboys country.
It's Cowboys out there, huh?
Yeah, one moment.
We got into sports real quick.
I got to tell you, that's the one day I was rooting for you guys.
Well, I was going to ask you, Red Gaze, who, if you were a sports fan, what's your team?
I am a Steelers fan.
Steelers. Yep. The battle between the Eagles and the Steelers in PA has been going on forever. Steelers fans and Eagles fans.
Oh, I keep hoping to see that Super Bowl one day.
Yes,
dude. When I drove to Philly, I went through Pittsburgh area. We actually stayed in a hotel the night before, and I was wearing my autographed Mike Vick jersey at the time, and this dude was like, "Oh, you fucking Eagles! How bad are you gonna lose? You rookie and this and that." And then we blew them out 34-3. It was amazing. There's Steelers fans sitting behind me like, "Oh, they're not calling anything for us. Clearly a penalty. Oh, that was a holding." It's just like, fuck, dude, you're just sucking today. Just take it, you know. And I have no beef with the Steelers. The Steelers fans, they always like, fuck you, Eagles. It's like we were one team in the 40s. What are you talking? Like we have no rivalry. The one time we could have, the fucking Cardinals with Kurt Warner pulled something out of his ass, and God, that was an awful game. But the Steelers, I was a huge Steelers fan that game when they beat the Cardinals and they almost lost. I was like, no, but Santonio Holmes pulled it off
over Super Bowl 40. Man, I'm still pissed off about that game.
That was you know what? That was I need to rewatch it because I own almost all the Super Bowls on DVD, the Super Bowl run videos, and my favorite is still, besides the Eagles, is still probably. I love the Seahawks Broncos because not that I'm a Seahawks fan per se, but
go Hawks.
The way they just annihilated them for 4 quarters.
That was fun.
At the time, the greatest offense in history with Peyton, who I love Peyton, but
thoroughly enjoy that.
Wow, like because you don't see blowouts anymore. It's always like a 3-point, a 7-point game, and to see someone get annihilated should have been a blowout with no score.
Well, we had the Legion of Boom, and they were all in their prime. All those guys were, at the top of their game. And looking back at it, I wouldn't be surprised if most, if not all, of the main, players of that defense get a Hall of Fame, like Sherman, Earl Thomas, Cam Chancellor. Unfortunately, had his career cut short. But there you don't see defenses like that. They come along once, maybe every 20 years or something like that, where you get that defense.
Yeah, that was a Bears worthy defense, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But who would? Okay, this was something I want to ask you. And sorry, people in the chat, we will get back to nerd shit, but we're being nerdy with football. Who would you pick out of that Super Bowl to be the MVP, if not the one that got it?
You asking me, Angus?
Yes.
I would probably give it to if I want to, I'm trying to remember. I believe wasn't it?
It was like
What?
it was the linebacker that got the pick for the touchdown.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Smith. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I think Russell Wilson probably should have got it, and that's just for the fact that he was in his second year. He was a rookie
Right.
before, and he came out like like he'd been playing for 20, and put it that put 48 points on the board. Well, the defense put up a good chunk of that too, but he came out and had poise and delivered and did his job, and yeah, I think he probably should have got it. But the defense was the one that stepped up for that game, so I understand them giving it to a defensive player.
See, for me, because I watched the Super Bowl in Afghanistan, and for me personally, watching it, I would have gave the MVP to Percy Harvin, because at the time of the second half starting, Seahawks get the ball back. It's like, all right, we've seen Peyton down 20 points and come back. So all you got to do is get a defensive stop, and they can be right back in this game. And Percy Harvin comes out second half, and boom, 29 zip off that return touchdown. It's like, that is the nail in the coffin. Now they're just playing for some sort of respect. And I would have given it to him, because I think that was what killed any drive on the Broncos sideline.
A little shameless plug here. I also made a Seahawks song a few years ago that was kind of popular. It got on the radio and the local news up there in Washington State. That's my biggest video, by the way. It's it's almost 9,000 views, but that's my little claim to fame. But yeah, it was a great game, and if you watch it real close, you can tell Peyton Manning had the fear of God put in him within those couple of plays, and he played scared the rest of that game.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that it happened to him, but I still, because of the clout that team brought, it makes the win that much more significant the way they did it. So it's one of those, like, I hate happened to Peyton that way. Like the Saints game he lost in Indy, that was like, okay, that was a good back and forth, and he just threw a pick and killed the game. But
yeah, Tom Brady should have one less ring too, if you ask me, because we should have ran the damn ball the next year. But
that play, that play to Butler. What I said from the get-go, I've said this forever. Everyone's like, "You should run the ball," blah blah blah, and it's all right. It makes sense. They're like the Pats in desperation. They just put up their heavy package. Maybe we can stop them. We'll see. And it made sense to me to pass, but what they should have done was play action to Marshawn, make them bite on that run, then roll out Wilson, makes the cornerbacks pick their receiver or Russell Wilson. And to do a quick pass on the goal line, that was just stupid, because you got no room,
And in a bunch of traffic, too. It was just retarded.
But yeah,
I guess he made his rookie mistake his third year.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy, though. Hats off to Coughlin for, he's a genius. The game plan with his players, it's like, he knows how to tool people for situations. And Butler was practice squad guy his whole career that year until that game. He's like, yeah, I'm going to activate you for this game for some reason. And what a play to start your career.
Yeah, well, you never heard of him after that either.
Yeah, he hasn't panned out, because Tennessee's my number 2 team, so they haven't panned out with him thus far, but we'll see. Yeah, Red Gaze.
We run off the whole chat now. Sorry about that in the chat.
Before we go back to nerd shit, I was going to ask, what is your favorite Steelers Super Bowl?
Ooh. All right, I'm out.
That's a tough one. I don't know. Sorry to blow the load there.
Oh, that's fine. That could be a topic for another stream you come on.
As long as it's not Super Bowl 40, I'm happy.
Just in the chat real quick, because I was gone previously before we got on that. Rusty Jeep, I actually don't feel that way. I don't feel fuck the Giants. I just want them to lose when I play them, but I've never actually hated the Giants. They're kind of middle of the. If I had to rank the whole league, I'm like, I don't hate them. I don't love them. The Patriots Super Bowls they had were amazing. I own both of those, and I love watching them. But yeah, it's funny because I was in Fort Drum, New York, my last 2 years in the Army, and I had my Eagles cup for coffee in the clinic, and there's always these Giants fans like, fucking Eagles, and it's like, I've never, like, whoever wins out of between us is usually the division winner. So it's like there's no hard feelings for me. I know we got the more iconic wins over y'all, so whatever. I guess you can be salty, but you got all the Super Bowls until like 2 years ago, so it's kind of a zero-sum game to me. But yeah, Mr. Pete Hale, Darth Vicious said hi to you before. Fatal J, I was gone when you came in the chat, so sorry that I didn't address you earlier. But yes. Because he's like, I know you see me in the chat, and Kermit the Log is here. We were talking about y'all earlier, and someone else in the chat earlier, Carl Manvers. Go check that channel out. He said that he's going to have a new animation on Tom King Batman, because Tom King just got fired after he finishes number 85. I don't follow modern comics right now, but I know that's been a new bit of news for Comicsgate. Then another weirdos getting canned or shifted to smaller planes. But yeah, Steven, I saw, I don't know if it's this week or next week, but you're going to be streaming with Mary tomorrow, right?
Yes. Yeah, I'm going to be streaming with Mary tomorrow at 8, I believe, and Lethal Lightning this weekend, Saturday at 11.
Oh, so did he figure out his computer problems?
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. Hopefully I'll be on with you, because I was supposed to be on with you on there this last Saturday, so it's good that we're figuring that out.
Yeah, get up with him.
Glad you're making the rounds. I'll be at work, but it's just guard duty and a guard check, so I just sit there, watch YouTube or write scripts. So
Nice.
Glad to know that you're on patrol.
Yeah, you were saying earlier about your dad in Star Trek. What's funny is, 'cause I love Red Letter Media. I know some fandom ministers because of their Plinkett and stuff with the prequels, or their kind of their Last Jedi review was kind of like, it wasn't bad, it wasn't good.
Yeah.
I've kind of come to the term that with big pop culture films, you never know what they'll say, and I think they might be a little disingenuous to be sarcastic to everyone. Where
right,
like with Captain Marvel, there's parts of, yeah, I kind of like that, but they definitely had that whole intro of like, yeah, there's this whole big fuss about this movie, and they have the Jeremy soundbite. So yeah, with huge pop culture films, I expect them to just be sarcastic and use their Wisconsin charm. So I'm still on board with them, but with that, there's that gag of Mike always annoying Jay with Star Trek, where he's like, this reminds me of this plot from this very small series in Star Trek no one cares about. And I love those. So he convinced me to check out Star Trek. So I got the 10 film set of the original 10 films. I've watched the first 5.
Wow.
And because it's all because of Last Jedi, because I never cared about Star Trek until I was like, well, I got nothing else to look forward to or watch.
Let me just interrupt you for a second. Since you've just seen the first 5, tell me which is your favorite.
Oh yeah, I surprise Star Trek fans a lot. I think from the first 5 so far, Khan is the weakest Star Trek film, and I love 4 and 5 the best. I can't figure out which one I like more, because I love philosophy. I love the whole idea of trying to find God and stuff. As an atheist, I'm open to God being there. And I just love that whole plot, and people think it's like a meme where it's like, why does God need a ship? But I thought it was a good plot. I liked it, especially with Spock and was it Cybok? Is his brother?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that plot. It was great. Only thing stupid about that film was the whole Uhura trying to be sexy. It was like, whoa.
Well, that's because she was a dancer, and Nichelle Nichols was actually an exotic dancer. She that was one of her routines. So them adding that in was kind of a nod to her, and also, in my opinion, a nod to an older lady can still be sexy. Like, she's still our sex symbol, which I thought was cool. Being a fan of the original.
With that kind of being a turnoff for me, they made up for it with the reboot cat lady. So
Oh yeah, the 3-boot cat lady. Yeah. No, that's great. I was not expecting that answer. My favorite is The Wrath of Khan, and I think that's because I watched the original series. I remember watching Space Seed. Khan was a reoccurring character. That was someone who came back, and I really enjoyed it. And also because when you come off the motion picture, which was and you come into The Wrath of Khan, like, that's finally the stride that begins that generation of Star Trek. Everything up until Enterprise. That kind of sets the stride, and so I'll always love that film. But yeah, I love 4 too, and I love 5 for for certain reasons.
Yeah, it's funny. People are always shocked, like, you don't like Khan. It's like, it's not that I don't like it. I love the whole the emotional payoff with Spock and
Mm-hmm.
Kirk. That's all great. It's got the chemistry and everything. It's got a great plot. It doesn't feel Star Trek to me. I know the plot is built off of the original series with Khan, but it feels like they had the at best middling success with the first one, because it is a boring movie. Even though I like the plot, I like the sex appeal of the bald lady robot chick or whatever. I like the V'ger plot especially.
Yeah.
They're all interesting. It's just boringly delivered, especially coming into it fresh. But that still feels like Star Trek. Feels like there's this like philosophy, and Khan is just like them kind of selling out to like, well, Star Wars was a huge hit, and Superman, and even the boring Close Encounters was still, I assume, awe-inspiring during that era. So I felt like that was like them selling out to the norms, just like football, where it's like, oh well, they're doing the like Chip Kelly's working. And so everyone's trying to like do speed or something. It's how it works in Hollywood too, is a copycat league. And so I felt it was just like,
yeah, I understand. I understand that. And what's weird is that I have the exact opposite opinion. I think that Star Trek: The Motion Picture was trying to be more like the Star Wars that was coming out. Was trying to be more like that genre. And not that it wasn't trying to be itself. It was still trying to find itself. I believe. That everybody in that production had the right intention. But to me, the Wrath of Khan was, okay, let's get back to what we know the fans want, what we know the fans like. Let's honor the original series and give Khan.
yeah.
Part 4 the one with the humpback whales?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm glad you touched on that, because if I remember correctly, I'm an old man, so I actually saw that movie, I believe, in the theater. But if I remember correctly, there was a political agenda behind that, as far as like save the whales. But they did it in a nice, discreet way. They made it part of the story, and it actually is one of my favorite Star Trek movies. And that's just a nice example of how political agenda can be incorporated into your story, done right.
You're right. Yes,
Yeah,
I totally agree.
Yeah, with 4, I love it because the humor and the plot is self-aware. And this is what I said in my Game of Thrones video recently. It's like, as stupid as it is after the Night King to still have a Night's Watch, besides maybe the idea of retooling it to be like the last line of like Law and Order, perhaps going that far north. They kind of have a self-aware joke or jab where it's like there's still a Night's Watch, and it's like it worked in Star Trek 4 where it's like Bones like, wait, we gotta go back in time to get Wells to bring him forward in time to talk to this satellite. And, and the fact that Spock's trying to learn to cuss in like modern day San Francisco at the time and shit, and he just doesn't get it because he's a
colorful metaphors,
Vulcan and stuff, and it's just like, this is great. And the whole like Kirk, macking on the lady right away from the whale shop or whatever, like it was great. I love it. As wacky as it is, they made it work, and it felt fun. It feels like Star Trek. But yeah, like just that's a great, to me, it's a great example of like a joke in a narrative working versus this show does not have this quality to it. And then you got that joke, the Night's Watch, and then you got the whole like, I don't prefer we make brothels, with Sam, and I'm like, ugh, fuck off. But yeah, Star Trek is something I opened myself up to because of The Last Jedi. So 2 things I can thank The Last Jedi for is, 3, finally got me on YouTube, got me on the Phantom Menace, and it got me watching Star Trek.
Yeah, Star Trek has a great history. Another thing that a lot of people don't know about was the first time on a TV show, Captain Kirk and a black woman actually kiss.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was a crazy thing back in the, I believe, 60s.
Well, I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, Star Trek's been, breaking the mold for years.
Yeah, there's an interesting story about that. The censors came in to Star Trek when they were filming that scene, when they were going over that script, and they said, look, we can't do this. We can't have an interracial kiss on TV. And eventually, the Gene Roddenberry and William Shatner convinced him, said, look, we'll take 2 takes. We'll see which one looks better, and then we'll go from there. And they're like, okay. So they went in and did the first take, which was the kiss. And then every subsequent take afterwards, William Shatner would screw up on purpose. He'd cross his eyes, he'd cough, he'd move, he'd screw up every single take to the point where the censors that were there said, "Look, we have one more take, and that's it." He said, "If you screw this up, it's on you." And so when he went down to do the take, he did it perfectly, then turned to the camera at the end of it and crossed his eyes.
Wow. Hey,
nice.
I just got to interrupt y'all. Nerdrotic followed me, and he shared this stream and said, "Stephen Walton, thank you for calling out the hypocrisy. Miss Nerdrotic is grateful. Hashtag Fandom Menace at Angus and the link." So
Wow.
That's beautiful. Gary, I
Very
love
cool.
you. Thank you so much, man.
Yeah, much props to Nerdrotics, man. They're awesome.
I love your channel. I love everything you do. Been following you for a long time.
And you got a cooler toy collection than I do.
Yeah, I've actually been trying to watch. So I'm the guy that when I find a channel, once I exhaust like the new shit, especially if you don't upload as fast as say Geeks and Gamers, I'll go through all your shit when I have time. And so I'm slowly working my way through. Some of it I'm not going to watch because it's like I don't know about some of these new shows. I try to watch. I watched 2 seasons of The Expanse. I'm not sold. I get why people like it, but it's not my cup of tea. So some stuff I'm not going to watch, but I just love listening to him and stuff. And I actually cast him as Maester Aemon in my Fandom Menace video. And if you've seen it, you'll see why, at least the way I extrapolate it. I hope he appreciates that. But yeah, I like his show. I'm glad I found him, although it took a while, till a couple months ago to find him.
Well, I mean, they bury some of these channels in the algorithm. Hey, Immortal.
Hey, what's
cool.
up, man?
Howdy.
Yeah, I finally made it. Had some daddy duty to do, but
I guess Wednesday's one of your days. Okay.
yeah, duty free now though. So hope I
Better
didn't
late
miss
than never.
anything.
Better late than never.
No, I just yelled a few times. That's it.
Oh,
Well,
what
we've
you
just
yelling
been
about?
going
Now?
off about Game of Thrones and politics and our entertainment. You know how it is.
Oh yeah. I actually I'm working on a Batman video right now. Did you guys see the Batwoman? Did you guys talk about that?
Oh, we saw
Just
the Batwoman.
briefly, we just briefly talked about it. But yeah, bring that back. That's a great topic.
Yeah, well, Ruby Rose, she winds up coming off very much Captain Marvel-y, and they even do the Hero thing at the end of the trailer. If you guys caught that,
Yeah.
yeah,
Unfortunately.
and that's a point I make in my video. It's probably going to come out tomorrow. I don't care if you're a lesbian or if you're Athena-like or whatever, but don't make me feel guilty about my Y chromosome.
Yeah, I said this is like with the Batwoman, being this, to me, attractive lesbian or gender fluid, whatever she is,
Sure.
and then having an attractive black love interest in the show. It's like this is a sell to young men, regardless if they're not lesbians. It's like we like seeing that shit, even if it's not actual porn or whatever. It's the sexual tension appeal. It's there. You didn't have to whack us over the head with this, and you could be subtle with this. Like Atomic Blonde, they did the same type of narrative portrayal in their trailer. I was like, wow, this is ballsy, because you don't see this at the time, even with Brokeback Mountain, Moonlight, some like actual in-depth sexuality being a catalyst in a conflict in the plot. It can work, and it did with Atomic Blonde. There was a sex appeal with a lesbian or bisexual character. But when you force this political narrative on top of that, it's very off-putting, especially when you try to say like, oh, taking credit for men ain't gonna take credit for what I do, but then you're so unaware that the whole thing is her taking everything of Batman's, which
Well, yeah, and if you're a strong, independent lesbian woman, you shouldn't have to define yourself in terms of what you can do that men can't do. You should just fucking do it.
You should not have to devalue another part of the population just to elevate yourself. I'm sorry.
Exactly. Well, and that's a good way to put it. You shouldn't have to put down people in order to lift yourself up. You should be, I mean, if the Batman is who you inspire to be, you lift people up and you do self-sacrifice, and you do it from the shadows, not for recognition, but for the goodness of doing good.
That's a good point. Yeah, I believe that. Yeah, because the whole point of Batman is, he's in the shadows. He's a vigilante. He's the silent guardian. And she's all like, I'm not letting a man take credit for my work. Are you kidding me?
The
I
part
can't
that
wait
really
to see the retractable ninja bat dildo nunchucks. I mean, those are going to be awesome. And then
Dude,
She
anytime
has-
we have to,
still that
she could
figure.
strap it on and go.
she has a strap-on utility belt. That's right,
Yeah.
Snowdo. Yeah.
very strap on.
I already have replicas of all that stuff.
Oh man, and I can't believe how much they cucked Lucius Fox. Did you see that guy? He looks
I
like
hope
didn't know
that's
if that
not
was
Lucius.
film. I didn't know if
he
that was
looks
film
like
or-
Steve Urkel. What the fuck?
Oh,
do that.
yeah.
I got a
Pretty
thing with
much.
rules.
Oh
Are you
man, he's like
keeping the black man down? Like, what? Are you kidding me? Lucius Fox was a representation of a wealthy black man. Like that. He wasn't just a black guy. He was, a professional in his industry. And for people, that wanted to see more color or wanted to identify maybe with someone of more color, like Lucius is like perfect example of a well-written, crafted character that is not a token. It just is who he is. And he adds to the plot, and he adds to the environment. And now,
And he has a
look
great
at-
story arc through
Yeah,
the whole
right.
thing. Yeah.
Like a submarine, Mr. Wayne, a submarine.
well, and the voice of God, Morgan Freeman, like that guy
Mm-hmm.
should narrate everyone's life.
Yeah, I
He
mean,
started
even-
from a sperm and an egg.
even with the whole like comedy of Bruce Almighty, he makes a very convincing God with like the dialogue they give him and the
Oh,
and viewpoints.
Oh, he is God. When I die, I'm going to see him.
There was an awesome video you guys got to see on Morgan Freeman where he talks about Black History Month. Oh my God, you got to see it. He goes off because they're asking him, "What do you feel about it?" And he goes, "I hate it." And they're like, "Well, why?" It's a CNN interview or something like that. And he goes, "Well, do you want a White History Month?" And he's like, well, we don't need one, And he's all, "Well, neither do we." It's a great interview. You gotta check.
Yeah. You call. How about I stop calling you a white man and you stop calling me a black man?
Exactly.
That's what he said. And yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You just, those things don't need to be pointed out. Those things are divisions.
Why don't we try human?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
it's.
I
no,
think
go
it's. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No. I was just gonna say that, regardless how you feel about him, just being willing to listen. Because of the memes, I started checking out his stuff and trying to hear what he's saying with Alex Jones. And people try to extrapolate that he's like this big racist or something. And it's like, do you hear the stuff he says? He's kind of crazy and he's sensational, but he has a very like Star Trek view of the world and like what we could be.
Mhm.
He's a dreamer. And I've never felt that he's like, get out of here, Jew, get out of here, black, or any of that. If they try to extrapolate on him, he's yeah, I don't know. It's funny that you just made me think of that with that viewpoint.
Yeah. Well,
Well,
one of the sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. He's a great big dork too. He has some really good things to observe about the Last Jedi and the Force Awakens, and he actually kind of equates that to geopolitical events. Like he takes the way that the Emperor turns the Galactic Republic into the Empire, and then equates it to shit that's going on in our geopolitical sphere. So if you can get past that kind of thing, then fucking listen to what he has to say and evaluate it for yourself. It's pretty decent.
Yeah, he's a great celebrity, and we don't have enough of them. We need more celebrities like him. Another great example is Keanu Reeves. I have no idea what his political spectrum is. I don't care, but I do know he's an amazing human being because he goes out of his
Fucking
way to
angel.
help the average Joe. Yeah, that's the kind of not politics. That's the kind of celebrities that we want. People that step up and know that they're quote unquote privileged and they can go out of their way to help the common man once in a while or to have a good perspective on things and not have to push some kind of political agenda. I just don't understand it.
It's because you're a bigot.
Those kind of people.
Yeah, no, that's awesome.
Yeah,
I was just having the exact same conversation with somebody the other day about Keanu Reeves. Just the fact that, yeah, you have no idea what his views are politically. He's just a cool dude and he does cool shit. And he's also chronically depressed and, works through that. He's just a cool guy.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even care if someone has political views. It's when you get to like this gray area of like Chris Evans and his rhetoric. I hate it, but sure, say it what you want, but it changes when you're like Captain America and you're currently still playing Captain America. And so you got dumb kids on Twitter and they're following you because they like your acting, your characters, and then they see Chris Evans thinks that this kid should, whatever, like the Covington kid and all that.
Yeah.
It's like sports or whatever. It's like, oh well, this guy it's the thing about like Tom Brady. If you're playing football in high school and it's like, I love Tom Brady, and then Tom Brady hates X player, and it's like, or X person. It's like, well, I like that person, but my hero hates him, so maybe I should change if I want Tom Brady to like me. Like, kids are impressionable, so it's like, and a lot of adults are impressionable, especially nerd culture. We gravitate to our heroes. So, I'm sure Mark Hamill's rhetoric has affected some people's political views from Twitter because they love Luke Skywalker, or vice versa with Kurt Russell or something, even though he isn't. So he's just very clear about like guns or whatever. But you could have that potential with the conservative, potentially.
I love Kurt Russell.
Well, and I had the opposite problem with Liam Neeson. Like, I really enjoyed Qui-Gon Jinn, right? And one of my favorite movies was Taken, because obviously I'm a father of a young girl. Angus, you can relate to this. I don't know if any of you guys are fathers to young girls, but that would be your instinct. If somebody took your daughter, you would go ape shit and fucking kill everybody. But then Liam Neeson is one of these actors that will get paid millions of dollars to shoot guns and kill people on TV, but then stand up and go, yeah, guns are bad and nobody should have guns, and there's no reason for them. And it's just fucking hypocritical. Jason Bourne, that guy too. Same thing.
Matt Damon's that's the thing though.
Matt Damon.
I mean, generally, I'm at the point where I expect every actor in Hollywood to be a leftist libtard that hates everybody in the Midwest and stuff, and backwoods Pennsylvania and Ohio, etc., and think that everyone with guns is some redneck bigot or whatever. I expect that. That's the norm, especially with like art being a liberal arts based profession and everything. You're open to stuff. You're on the coast and everything. I get all of that. It's just just shut up and say thank you for the money I give you, and do your stuff when you're not on the clock with like promoting your movie, because then it ties it. Your politics get tied to the movie. That's why I appreciate, even though they had the grassroots campaign that I disagree with, they had a grassroots campaign of Black Panther Challenge. But you never heard the actors, regardless of they think that or not, you never heard any like anti-white rhetoric or any of that stuff that gets tied with Black Panther and representation. As opposed to Captain Marvel was explicitly funded in part by the actress, who's a wacko feminist who's like, we need less white men.
Yeah,
that's a great example, Black. And I got another one for you is Sigourney Weaver. And back when she did Aliens with Jim Cameron, she was an avid supporter against anti-gun law, and she would even donate money to causes and such. But she didn't really come out, on camera and say that. Granted, this is before social media, but both him and Jim Cameron, weren't pro-gun by any means, but they understood that the story that they needed to tell involved guns, and they had to quote unquote bite the bullet and actually put guns in their hands and make the story happen. Now we look back at Ellen Ripley, Sigourney Weaver's character, as one of the greatest female heroes of all time, and really the pinnacle that all these other female actresses should look up to as far as taking on a hero role. And
yes,
it makes sense to me that yeah, you got a political agenda, great, keep it under the table, do what you got to do with your contributions and stuff, but leave it off the main media. Leave it aside, because then you're splitting your fan base, and you're only doing is hurting your wallet and your bottom line.
Well, that's the thing is, every one of the values of the Fandom Menace is you're allowed to have your own opinion. You're allowed to have your own values, and I support that for everybody. If one of our liberties is threatened, all of our liberties is threatened. So Alyssa Milano can go online and talk all the trash she wants and have any opinion that she wants. Those people, I don't mind that. What I'm asking from entertainment is that these people be a little more conscious of the customer, of what their influence, because they have louder voices than the rest of us, more influential voices, how they use that influence. By all means, support what you want to support. Vote how you want to vote during election times. Get behind whoever you want to get behind. There are certain things that, like I said, that liberty can't be denied. But with their freedom of speech. But be more aware of the type of product you're producing and what you're saying and the audience that you're saying it to, because we are a country made up of vastly different opinions and personalities, and we're not all going to agree with your woke narrative.
Well, no, forgive me, Steve, for being late to the party. Are you crowdfunding your book? How do we get a hold of it? And can you give a brief like synopsis? Because I just like found out about you last week when we were streaming with Jeff and Angus's
Sure.
birthday. Yeah.
Well, I did make the attempt to do a GoFundMe, but that didn't work out too well. So mostly this is all me. Everyone who's contributed to this book has done so voluntarily with no compensation. They've done it for the love of the Fandom Menace. And I'm proud to have had Overlord DVD, Mecha Random 42, Odin's Movie Blog, Mindless Entertainment, Ruin the Man Baby, Anthony Ergo, The Gospel According to Mark with a C, The Cantina with Stephanie Jancic, and Black Angus is going to be doing a little something for us too. And also Kiri Howard is going to be doing a chapter. I also have another chapter written by a gentleman. I'm not sure what's his name out there, so I'll just call him George. George, that I met in Nerdrotic's Facebook page, that is going to be doing a chapter on Doctor Who, because I am not a Whovian, and I don't feel as though I would give the subject matter the respect it deserves, that it needs to have from the perspective of a Whovian, someone that's into that culture. The book itself is really the book itself is a proclamation of war. Sick of being attacked by these ideologue extremists. Yes, it does talk about the far left a lot, but those are the extremists that have the control right now, that are controlling our media and our franchises in Silicon Valley, and are trying to control our politics and the way we live in our lives. If it was the right, I'd be bitching at the alt-right or the far right. That's just it's what it is. And I also try and make the point in the book that I'm a centrist who leans left. I am not attacking classical liberals. There are many progressives, many classical liberals that are involved in the Fandom Menace that are just as sick of it as we are and want those extremists out of their party and away from their influence. And I know it's hard for those types of people because there is a lot of loud right-leaning voices in our movement. But that's not who we are. So really, this project began when I had started writing another project that I was pitching to a bigger YouTuber that I wanted to do, and because I know that it'll work. I know it's a project that'll be successful. But while I sent him a packet about it, and we had some discussions, and then it kind of teetered off. Star Wars 2019 came around, kind of teetered off. And people get busy, and people in positions where they have to make sure that every decision they make is calculated and is the best for them need time to make that decision and speak with people that they trust. So while I had initially began writing the outline for it, I got 20,000 words for that book already written out, and I've got a folder dedicated to it and source material that I want to pull from. I can't stop something once I start it. So that led into the creation of this, which originally was just going to take my time. Just give me something to do. Let me keep writing. Let me keep you on the flow. And then I reached out to Mecha. Mecha was the first person to sign on, and then Doomcock, and then just kind of snowballed from there. And so basically, this book is about the formation of the Fandom Menace, the original voices that started the movement, the ones that grew. I touch in on a lot of different subjects. I try not to be too lengthy in my chapters because I've been told I can be overly descriptive. So I try and keep them straight and to the point, with my own brand of sarcasm lent in here and there, because this is my book. And I go through Geeks and Gamers, the High Council. I go into the Mark Waid situation. I go into the Hambly situation. And I've made sure each time I have written a chapter about someone in this book where they are the defining subject of that chapter, that I have made the attempt at least to reach out and send them a copy. So, the chapter.
It's funny how the detractors of the Fandom Menace movement try to characterize the typical fandom menacer as a specific either like race or ethnicity or political leaning. Mm-hmm. And the examples you cited, like Mecha Random and Black Angus and Kiri, who don't fit that mold, they're typically described as being brainwashed or like over
Yeah.
masculine, you know, and it's
How is that not? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
well, just like you're saying, like their voice is minimized because it doesn't fit the detractor's narrative. And the only thing that we're saying is keep your bullshit out of our entertainment. Give us
Right.
something that's like substantive.
Yeah,
Right,
it's not even. It's not even that you can't be political. I've had this argument with some detractors that got kind of a moment in the spotlight thanks to the High Council, and they're like, "Oh, well, clearly the High Council is just a far right leaning political movement for entertainment. They're not here to include anyone." It's like, dude, I've streamed multiple times on his channel and otherwise with Abu Nas before Last Jedi Fandom Menace. Like, I don't know if we'd get along because like this may not have come in conversation. He's a left leaning New York Democrat, card carrying Democrat. He said Muslim, and even though I'm an atheist, I grew up Christian and from Oklahoma and stuff. I'm a vet. I have my own perspectives on race and stuff that are different from him. But, you know, we have that respect to have dialogue and stuff. And it's thanks to this platform built two of the three explicitly right-leaning Trump supporters. And, you know, he himself has never felt jaded or not welcome in this movement. So we have a commonality. Our thing is about escapist entertainment, not being skewed to one political narrative. You know, it's like it's totally fine if creators want to make an SJW creation. It's when you start forcing it into stuff that was never, at least that explicit. You know, you can say George Lucas was having a Vietnam narrative in Star Wars, but it was never explicitly jaded to one side trying to skew your politics or something, you know, because you can clearly take from this today's perspective the Afghan and Iraq campaigns and look at the rebellion as like Al-Qaeda, you know, but you know it changes as you go.
That's what they do with the scrolls in Cap and Whammon. Yeah, the scrolls they're displaced refugees. Yeah,
the scrolls really felt like kind of like, you know, the Hispanics from Mexico and you know, the whole border type of thing. And now they're just looking for a good home, even though they were just killing people, you know, 30 minutes prior in the movie. But now we gotta love them. I love that. The Skrulls was one of the worst represented comic book characters in history.
That's what I've heard.
And taken so out of context of the original comic book. And see, that's part of what I think the problem was, like Angus was speaking to, is that the SJWs, the political influencing, hopeful writer in air quotes, they don't have their own properties, so they invade older properties and they water it down and they spin it so that you have to come to the forced conclusion, which makes you feel like super uncomfortable inside, that maybe you know, white people are bad, or that our president is orange and bad, you know. just all this silly stuff that has nothing to do with the mythological history of our entertainment properties.
Right. And
you
these
know, like, does Hulk have green guilt? I don't know.
And these properties are like one of the things that have always brought people together, you know, from different religions, different backgrounds, and different things. Like you could have a heated argument about pro-life, pro-choice, and then have a 5-minute break to talk about the Avengers. Find some kind of common ground. That's really what part of our want to keep this rhetoric out of entertainment. That's where it stems from. Like this is our break from all this other stuff going on. This is our chance to have something to bond over. And you're using it as a tool for your political, you know, narrative.
Yeah, well, I did a video like a video or two ago where I talked about the novelty of the Force, how it is spiritual and religious and all this kind of stuff, but it's not necessarily dogmatic, or there's not like an old man at the forefront of it. So you can kind of take your own philosophical values and put it on either the light side or the dark side. But in trying to like turn it into this like gray thing where you kill the Jedi, kill the past, let the fucking everything die, you know, what's it going to become? You know, it's going to be Kylo Ren going, and it's going to be Rey going, yay!
That line is so SJW. It is so reflective of SJWs. Don't respect what came before you. You know, don't respect that. You know, it's everything. Everything has to be an outrage now because, like, you know, black people are still in chains and women are still pregnant and barefoot in the kitchen. Like, we've come so far. So many different people throughout history have fought for liberty, for equality. You know, there's a lot of people, and during times in history where it was lethal to do so. And it's all of their achievements mean nothing. Like, where we are now, built upon the backs. Shouldn't we be looking back and respecting those figures, those first feminists that were fighting for true equality, for universal suffrage? You know, those civil rights leaders that were fighting for equal representation. Like, those people should be respected. You devalue all of that when you ignore it, and when you say, like, when Brie Larson says she's breaking a glass ceiling. No, the fuck you're not.
Hell yeah.
Well, and that's the dangerous thing too, Steve, is they're trying to give you the glass to perceive history through. They want you to look down this narrow tunnel and be like, okay, so the 1800s never happened. We're still stuck on the plantation. We're still, women's suffrage has yet to happen. You know, and they're not only saying that, but they're teaching our kids that shit in school, and then they're putting that on the silver screen and expecting us to think that that's modern day America. When all of us know better.
You know what's funny is I was talking to one of the collective guys, probably Rookie, is talking about how it's kind of funny. You realize how feminism has become so insidious today, like third wave at least, but really smart, very much like Palpatine in a way, and undermining everything. They've figured out how to co-opt every movement with the whole intersectionality idea, where it's like, well, oppression goes through all sorts of different minorities or identities and stuff, but it's really all comes down to feminism, all comes down to women with this narrative, because trans people is like a big thing today. But most of it is people turning to women, men becoming women. And so then it becomes a women's issue. With black people, well, it's like, you're seeing articles where it's like, black men are the white people of black people. And it's this whole thing about, like, yeah, black people have it bad, but black women are really... And so it's very insidious, where it's like any movement will somehow get co-opted by the feminists, because it's all about women. They become the dominant minority, because this is a problem. Regardless, whatever little section has a problem, well, half of them are probably women, and so then it becomes a women's issue. And so then, yeah, it's like they've co-opted, and therefore it all comes back to just their goal. It's really just about them. It's really about their power grab. It's this vindictive, like, penis envy narrative.
Well, you're right. It's an appeal to emotionalism and identity as opposed to logic and reason. So if I can get you outside your comfort zone and make you state a faux pas, then I can jump on you and get you to use that sort of emotional flame to invalidate your argument, whether or not your argument actually held water. So, you know, it doesn't matter if you make sense. It's like, you're wrong.
Have you seen that clip? I used it in the video. I used it in the video. There's this clip of Brie Larson at that Women in Film thing, and she's being interviewed by this black chick, and it's like, she was saying something like, yeah, so, like, what's the problem in entertainment? It's like, well, it's really hard for black people. And it's like, you have a black chick interviewing you, and it's like, what do you know? You know, it's like... Right.
And you're starring in a movie with, like, Nick Fury and Mace fucking Windu, and, you know, shut up, Brie Larson. Just go away.
Just the audacity. That's like a great example. Like, some people might say, like, well, it's just an airhead that's, like, trying to, think they know something about the movie. It's like, no, I think it's actually very reflective of it.
Yes.
'Cause it's like, yeah, well, it's bad for black people and black women, but it's like, well, yeah, but it's let's keep the white woman in charge. It's
the great white hope. That's what it is. It's like they're and when they talk and when these politicians, when these SJWs, when they speak to people of color, minority groups, or whatever, they dumb down how they talk, because these people that they're trying to save are not evolved or educated enough to think or defend themselves. So the great white hope Brie Larson has come to save you. How elitist and racist and sexist is that?
Dude,
Those
dude,
poor
before
heathens.
I forget, Steven, I'm gonna DM you a link of my first band YouTube video, and I think everyone else in the chat or in the panel has watched it, but
It was glorious.
I took which is on YouTube. I took this old racist cartoon where it shows black people like monkeys, like the famous like monkey-looking guy eating the watermelon. That cartoon, and I'm narrating over it in a slave voice, and I'm talking about like, "Ooh wee! Thanks to Brie Lawson."
Oh Jesus!
Oh
my God!
And
it was glorious for a whole second before YouTube.
Yeah, I mean, I was hoping this was going to be this is going to blow up. It's going to be like a 50-50 split, maybe a 30-70, even or like people just like fuck you, racist, and I'm like, haha, joke's on you, I'm black, like.
Yeah, my whiteness wouldn't even go anywhere near creating that.
Right.
Yeah, I had so much fun, and the whole point, because there's this like long, like at least 30-second clip of it where I'm like, it's like, where would we be without Brie Lawson? Don't mind about Malcolm X and Martin Luther King. And I go across time and profession with famous black people, like first black astronaut, first female black astronaut, first black pilot, etc. All these great moments, iconic black people, and it's like, nope, thanks to Brie Larson, we can do this. And
oh my God, send me that link.
The thumbnail was like Brie Larson with, I put devil horns on her, white devil, and I had the sign where it's like colored only.
To see this.
Colored only balcony.
This is why Black Angus is my favorite bigot.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and you'll love the end, because it'll be like, brought to you by, and you're gonna die when you see it.
Yeah, don't tell me anymore. I want to see it. Just send me the link.
Yeah, let me. You know what? If you have time, I'll send it to you right now, and let you listen to it in the background. Then you can give us your take.
Oh Lord.
Yeah, I'm going to my drive right now, and I'm sending you the link to watch it. Copy link.
This better not be porn.
Back to the old feminist topic you're kind of touching on there, as it's yin and yang. We got politics getting shoved into our entertainment. Now we got the fandom menace to kind of help battle back against that. It's the black and white, yin and yang type of thing. Same thing with feminism. You got a whole movement now that's being created called MGTOW. It's called Men Going Their Own Way. And there is a huge fan base behind this movement of men that are just sick of it. Sick of the whole feminist movement. It's like, can I open the door for you? Oh, no, you're too strong for me to open the door for you. But it's going to be rude if I don't. No wonder men are confused. So, yeah, it's funny. You keep pushing your agenda, you're going to eventually get pushed back. And that's what I feel the Phantom Menace is. We're a pushback.
Hey, Steven, go check that out. I just sent it to you. I want to get your take on it.
I really think that the social engineering element, Snow, is trying to demasculinize men and masculinize women. So, like when the opposition to the Fandom Menace sees a couple of like ball swinging motherfuckers who don't give a shit, they don't know what to do with us. They just call us names and they point fingers, and we're just like, well, sorry, that's just the size of my balls.
Sorry, mine hangs a little lower than yours.
Yeah. Sometimes it gets hot, might stick to the leg, but you know what?
Right.
Well, you know that not just women have periods. Did you ever see that post?
No.
Why, Black Angus, do they call it menstruation? Shouldn't it be womenstruation?
We're gonna reclaim menstruation as a men's movement.
It's like a men's demonstration.
I played enough at work. I work in construction. I donate my blood. I'm good.
Well, and all those, so like 18-year-old guys these days are like, they're wanting to dress in pajamas and drink hot chocolate. And what about the 18-year-old guys who died on Normandy Beach? what the fuck?
Oh,
Like, what happened to us?
you're touching on a personal subject there. My
Yes, sir.
grandfather went through 2 tours of World War II. First, he fought in the Africa regime, and then he fought in the Battle of the Bulge. And
Oh,
that
yeah.
man, unfortunately, he developed an alcoholism problem that ended up shortening his life. But man, what a generation of men, and these were kids
Oh,
that
yeah.
they threw on that beach, kids. And you think of what they went through, and then you think of some of these men today crying over, spilt soy milk. It's unbelievable and unfathomable. And I'll give you another great comparison real quick here. Is I work in construction, and I'm a 41-year-old man, and there's a bunch of us about my age, maybe a little older, that are looking at this next generation of construction workers and how they're all kind of pussyfied and they cry a lot and whine a lot. No, it's too hot. No, I need another break. And it's like, wow, that whole hardworking generation of men might be dying out, and we need to kind of reinforce that with our boys and say, hard work is a good thing, and being a man and being quote unquote toxic is still a good thing. Believe it or not, women will always be more attracted to a man with confidence than a man without.
Dude,
Most definitely.
there was an article actually that showed that even radical third wave feminists that are hetero or bi are attracted to toxic men.
Oh, Jesus.
One, it's a truth, and it actually follows the estrus cycle, where when they're fertile, they want like the brawny paper towel guy. They want Tom Selleck,
Yeah, I mean,
And
even it's evolutionary because
yeah.
I love learning about primatology, and this is the way even with like orangutans. So like you have like the alphas that have like the ugly round head and the kind of like the frill, if you will, like how to explain, like a cobra. They have that frill in their wrist. That's kind of like the alphas look, and then you got the
dense
beta,
bone structure, all that kind of shit.
yeah. Then you got the betas who are they look almost just like the females. The females
and they can
will
take
mate-
care of the kids, but that's not who makes the kids.
Yeah, the female orangutans will sleep with all the betas they want, but when they're in estrus, they only want the alphas. So it's an evolutionary thing.
So I love the old intro. Okay. Part of me wants to laugh my ass off. The other part of me feels like I'm about to get destroyed by like a mob of Black Lives Matter people coming into my house. Oh my god! Yeah, the old racist cartoon. But I can't believe they took that down. That was beautiful. The message that you created there was so beautiful. Thank you, Brie Larson. Oh my god!
Did you like the immediate end where it's like brought to you by the Ku Klux?
The Klan. Yeah.
Disney.
You should find some mirror site to post that to, Angus, because I think like after this airs or even during the airing, the chat's going to want to go and see it.
Try and put it on BitChute.
Yeah, BitChute.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I've heard bad things about BitChute that like it opens up to like people to like hack into your computer wherever you upload.
Or like Vimeo or something, just somewhere where you can not be bothered by YouTube.
Yeah,
Sorry, I love you, YouTube. I'm trying to get monetized.
Yeah, I was really proud of that, and I was expecting just like a lot of hate. I didn't think it would get taken down because I have a defensive. I'm black, but I'm like MAGA Kanye. I'm an Uncle Tom or something,
Your card is no good here.
Sorry, your black card is invalid. You're a conservative.
You've been declined credit.
Your droids, get them out of here. We'll serve their kind here.
Yeah, it's funny. There's this.
We don't serve droids here,
We'll serve their kind.
It's funny because I showed Ricky Critic that video, and every so often he just loves it because it's like so foreign, especially where he's at in the West Coast. It's so foreign a comedy to him. And so sometimes it'd be like, "Ooh, Brie Larson," and he got me to re-record that line for his tomatoes video, but he like edited it where it's like high pitched, but you still hear like my slave voice.
You've got to set that to Jesse Milestone. I think that she would really appreciate that.
oh, what was it? His mom. She heard that even with the edit to it of my voice. She's like, "What is that? That sounds." She was kind of like, "Whoa, that's bad."
Right. It is bad.
But no, it was funny because I actually showed him my script and I actually wrote it like it sounds.
You're
What, like
phonetically correct.
you apostrophed shit and you like made it.
Yeah, I
Wow.
wrote it all. I literally wrote
Oh
it like it
goddamn!
sounds.
Well, Steve, you might have to take some writing tips from Black Angus Reviews.
If you ever need to write like, who's that black guy in like Huck Finn with him, like Slave Jim or something.
I'm not
Yeah.
sure.
If you ever need something written like that, just swing on by. I'll help you.
I read I don't know if that's what the classification is, but it's a black book. I don't know. But it's written by a black author and it's written in slang. It's written in like the actual the phonetic pronunciation. And
It's
I
written in
saw that there.
Ebonics.
It's written in Ebonics. Yeah. I guess that would be the proper way to say it. But it was a good book. It's just you could tell what was being said, where it was coming from, like the message of the book got across, I guess I should say.
It reminds me. That kind of reminds me of the movie. What is it? Django Unchained. I mean, I can't remember what the record was. It was like a record for the most N words dropped in a movie. But he did it so tastefully, and that movie is so good. Even if you looked at it from an awkward, perspective of left or right, you could still find the entertainment value in that.
You say that, and just thinking in context of like award shows, I would just love to see like BET presents.
Oh Lord!
It's like the award ceremony. It's like this year's award for most N-words in a movie goes to.
Hands down.
Bingo. The best SJW representation in a film, Samuel Jackson.
Well, and to bring it into a little more realistic realm, and I actually would like your opinion, Snowdub, when especially black artists in their own vernacular are speaking about the realities of life, like you think about how Dre blew up and that whole scene, and they're speaking in the way that they speak, but it crossed like generational boundaries and like societal boundaries. So you have like rich white kids from fucking Northern Hollywood wanting to wear chains and fucking be from South Central.
Mm-hmm. I'm glad you brought that up, Immortal, because I make hip hop music. You could hear some of it on my channel. One of my last songs I did called "Watch My Strut." A little plug here, Angus. Sorry, but it's called "Watch My Strut."
Kill yourself.
But no, I actually brought in quite the diversity on that one. My singer is Asian, and my co-rapper is a African American, and he drops his N-bomb in there. It's fine. And we came together for a mutual purpose of making a great song. And I actually use the instrumental version as the background music to a lot of my videos. But it just goes to show that when there's a common ground, race disappears. It completely disappears. And that's what's important about it. So growing up, as a hip hop lover, as a white kid, yeah, there was a lot of rhetoric towards us, that younger generation in the 90s when Tupac and Eazy-E were all the craze. And all these white kids were loving it. Well, it's just because you exposed them to a completely different culture that they had never seen before. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with indulging in that. It's when you take that culture and you try to use it and weaponize it. That's when it becomes a problem. So, everybody's got a story to tell. And if people are willing to listen, then tell it. But don't stuff it down our throats and tell us how to act because of it.
Well, now that coming together is known as cultural appropriation. And it's wrong.
You seen the video of this white college kid? He's going around in a mustache and a sombrero and a poncho in like Mexico, and he's like, "Oh, do you find my what do you think of my costume?" And they're like, "Oh, that's cool." And then you go like a college campus, like appropriation, whitey, get the fuck off my campus. They even did it like there was a black guy dressed as like a pilgrim or something with I think a white guy dressed as an Indian. they were just like, you're an Uncle Tom.
Yeah, I'm a person who believes in reincarnation. Say what you will,
Same.
that's just what I do. And
Same.
so I look at people who all of us know that one white dude that is blacker than a black dude. Like he speaks it, he walks it. That's his culture. It's just who he is. And
like, oh, you're on your first white respawn. Oh.
yeah, that's how I
get
feel.
called Wigger.
Yeah.
Yeah, with a W, Wigger.
Right, yo, boy, yeah. But that I think that happens, in my opinion, spiritually. I think that happens all over the planet. That's might be one of the contributing factors to people being homosexual, or any other myriad of things that we choose as we develop as people. So the whole idea of cultural appropriation, to me, not only does it limit a person, that may be expressing some deep spiritual feeling that they have, but it's also limiting the ability to experience another person's identity or experience another person's way of seeing things. And that really does create division, because now you're isolating people.
Maybe that's why I feel like a fucking alien.
Yeah, well, no, America is not that old. We're only a couple hundred years old, so we don't have an established culture like China and all these older countries. So we got to make our own. And since we're such a stew pot of mixed different cultures, we have to experience each other's cultures from wherever it came from, and we take our tidbits like a salad bar. A great example is Cinco de Mayo. Everybody kind of celebrated it, even though it's supposed to be a Hispanic, holiday. It became a cultural thing that, hey, let's go out and have a few drinks or whatever. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's when you twist it and say, oh, you can't wear that sombrero because of blah blah blah. That's when you're defining a line of sheer diversion.
Diversity is our strength.
Or our weakness.
Have y'all seen that meme?
Speaking of, has anyone ever seen Anti-Racist Hitler?
No.
You really should look it up.
I'm gonna look that up, man.
Yep.
Anti-racist Hitler.
Okay.
No, have you seen? Remember when I
have you seen the Hitler explains why the Last Jedi is fucked? Like, it's that scene from what's it called? Yeah, look it up. So it's like a monologue from like a Hitler movie, and he's like doing his angry German shit, but it's like laying out every reason why the Last Jedi is fucking retarded. Oh my god. And it's like, if you're into that kind of dark, twisted humor, like if you can laugh at Hitler, then that's the Hitler you want to laugh at.
Yeah, I actually had a Hitler joke in my Game of Thrones video. It's like, she's all like Hitler standing up there like saying, "Good job, army, you freed King's Landing." I'm like, from what? Life?
Right.
Oh man, like that delivery. Sad too. Amelia Clark's a great actress in the show.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, they're all good. I like all of them. I don't think there's anyone that I've really. Well, the guy that did Euron. I mean, he looked the part, but man, they didn't give him enough to work with. What did somebody say? I forget which video it was, but was it yours? You said he had resting rape face. Like, that's just awful.
I've heard that. That's awful. That's the Nazi from Overlord came out last year. I expected good stuff from him, but they wrote him like I don't know, it's trying to be like Jack Sparrow or something. I don't know.
They didn't write him like the Euron from the books. Now, I haven't gotten that far into the books to really appreciate that character, but I've heard enough from people that are just fanatics over Game of Thrones. And apparently, like, he had magic armor. He was a really badass character. And they left so much out. They needed full seasons. They needed to have 2 full seasons if they wanted to do everything they wanted to do.
Isn't J.R.R. Martin, like, he hasn't finished his books, so we might get something different than.
Oh, we will.
The plot points are going to be the same, like major plot points, but it's going to be fleshed out.
I don't know. He might have just trolled everybody. He might have just.
The thing, though, because even if he does, and people are like, the books is way better in the end, it's like, yeah, but the plot's still the same, which is fine to me. But it's a double-edged sword. He either in this like alternate take with the books that's more fleshed out, it'll either be way better. Well, it doesn't matter if it's better. He's on a double-edged sword of the show might have killed interest in finishing the actual narrative.
No, because the people that are diehard book fans of that series, a lot of them didn't even like the show. Like they didn't even bother with it, and the ones that did watch it were constantly making references to how much better the books are. There's a whole sphere of people, of readers out there for that. It's not going to kill any interest for it. Him taking forever is going to kill some interest for it, but still, when that book comes out, they're going to buy it. And like I said earlier, with Dany's story arc, the Mad Queen, like that could have been done. We just didn't get enough context. An episode and a half is not enough time to smash that in. You're telling me the person who just unified almost all of humanity, like in Westeros, to fight the dead, who just saw an undead, just saw the zombie dragon and a whole horde of the dead, is going to just turn around and do the same thing and murder an entire city? That doesn't make sense.
Yeah, exactly. Narratively, it makes sense because people are like, "Oh, the prophecy was never fulfilled." And it's like one of the prophecy of, Azor Ahai, whatever, like plunging his dagger in the heart of that which would bring like darkness on the world. That was Dany. It's just you built up the Night King, and then it was underwhelming, and then it's like, oh, well, Dany's the one. It's like, yeah, it's all about timing, and they messed it up. And it was funny too because watching like Daenerys like sell her narrative, her mission to Jon, it felt very much like episode 3, which I love episode 3, and I like that delivery and Anakin's like blind delusion into the Empire and stuff, but it doesn't work because it's like you just like annihilated people. Like this isn't something you're just like, yeah, it's gonna work everywhere. It's like, what? This is scary. God, it's just because I watch them, like I'm buying the acting. It's just no, it's not working. Like,
can we talk about the respawning armies too, just for a minute? I mean, didn't all those Dothraki die in that mad, stupid rush into the darkness of death with trebuchets firing overhead?
There's an awful lot of soldiers there.
Where do they come from?
Well, you see one or two people come back, a couple empty horses, like that's all you see. And now all of a sudden you've got dozens rolling in the city, and then on the final scene you've got like still a horde left. Can we get continuity, maybe?
They clone themselves.
It must be.
Yeah.
My joke in one of my videos was that cowboy butt sex works for the Dothraki, but it's still a question how it works for the Unsullied.
Huh. Well, they probably use their severed penises to clone them.
Oh, yes. They'd be like the Japanese and the Americans in the island hopping era, World War II. Where like I watched some documentaries, just like we got like they're getting really pissed. So like they'd mutilate each other's dead, where it's like cut off their dicks and stuff them in their mouths and stuff as like a diss to them.
They did in Vietnam too. Yeah.
Zed is dead. Zed is dead.
During the USSR invasion of Afghanistan, whenever they shot down a Russian pilot, they would drag him into a cave and they would all have butt sex with him to dehumanize them.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
I don't think that's the real reason.
The Russian army.
You think?
So don't watch Red Dawn.
I can top that. I can top that. In I never saw this person or whatever, but one of the SF medics was telling me like they had one of the Afghan soldiers had like this huge like IED wound in his leg or something. It wouldn't heal. Mm-hmm. They didn't know what the hell was up, and then they did like studies or whatever on him, and he had like a whole bunch of STDs that were like permeating in that because all the other soldiers were screwing his leg hole.
Oh my God!
Oh, fuck!
War makes some weird shit happen.
Right? Would that be considered pansexual?
Yeah,
ask Lando Calrissian.
Yeah.
He knows that.
Okay.
He knows the answer to that.
Hey, we all have needs.
Darth Dixon. That's a pretty good diss talking about the dicks and mouths of the dead guys.
Oh my God.
I love their Chaz, a good sense of humor. Appreciate it. Yeah.
We take it to the next level over here, folks.
And it's like, what?
This is utter fucking chaos, people.
Did anybody think they'd be talking about screwing leg holes tonight?
No. Black Angus thought he would.
Oh, he thinks about that daily.
Yeah, he takes notes. He writes this shit down like he has an outline. So
Well, I knew we'd be
this
talking
is
about
leg
I-
hole sex. That's where we're at now.
I knew we'd be talking about the dickless folk because we always talk about Ryan Johnson. So
Yeah.
Oh my god, someone needs to make a meme of just like Ryan Johnson's face on all the Unsullied.
oh, there you go.
I'm sure they have any of y'all. I haven't seen it yet, but have any of y'all saw John Wick 3?
Yeah, I got a review up for it. It was a great installment to the franchise. Of course, it left a nice little cliffhanger. We're going to get a part 4. I personally love the first one the best. I think you disagree on that one, Black Angus. I think you think the second one's better. But as far as continuity, it picks right up from where part 2 left off and hits the floor running. The first 30 minutes of that movie, John Wick 3, is some of the best fighting action I have ever seen put on film. It is brilliant. So yeah, go see it if you haven't had your fill of toxic masculinity. There you go.
It's because you're a bigot.
Why I'm on
It was
the
funny. Earlier, he left, but Mr. P, he's like, Wiggers? And I was thinking, yeah, it's short for white tigers.
That's what they told us. Not gonna hold back the punches, man.
Red Gaze, I don't know if I asked you. If I did, sorry, but we got new people here meeting, I think. So what got you on YouTube?
Well, I mean, yeah, it goes back, yeah, since right before The Last Jedi. I actually started this channel in 2017 thinking, gun review channel. I'm a gun guy.
Okay, yeah, now I remember.
Yeah, but yeah, then The Last Jedi happened and I stumbled upon like Wolf and Mahler, and that led to EVS, and like EVS just really spoke to me because he was talking Star Wars, talking comics, and like for the first time, and I can't even remember, probably the early 2000s, I was interested in comics again. All of a sudden I was like, well, this is really fucking cool. So yeah, I just watched and watched and watched, and things just keep escalating, right? So I'm like, well, you know what, screw it. Why not add my voice to this? And yeah, so here I am. But I'll still throw out the occasional gun review, but I know most of the people looking at the channel probably aren't too interested in that. But
I'll check that out.
It's funny because I talk about this a lot, where it's like how much of EVS now is like, his wants. He's like, I just want to be a shock jock now. I kind of can be with my channel, and how much is genuine, and that's not a diss. Like he's a phony, but how much is morals really good at explaining. Like we're all kind of making cartoons of ourselves to some degree on our channel, compared to our full selves. And so when I think about it, it's like there's my civilian medic teacher in medic training. The first half is EMT training, and he was a vet and stuff, retired, but he was very funny. He was the way he taught us was like learning how to find the right answer as opposed to this is the right answer. And so like our class always had like shit scores, but we stayed consistent as the course got harder, as opposed to everyone else like had a huge nosedive in grades. And but then he's always like, I'm not like this in person. Like I kind of make a phony self to like get through class and to entertain y'all and make you learn. And then you actually meet him outside, like, hey, just like, thanks for teaching us. You're a great teacher, and shaking his hand. He's just like so standoffish. He's like clearly got like social issues outside the classroom. And it was like, given that perspective, I kind of try to see that in people sometimes, like how much is real and how much is like a presentation, kind of like the mask we give each other in person. And with EVS, I always had that perspective of, well, he grew up in Jersey as a Mormon. So even if he was a nerd in comics his whole life, I'm sure being in Jersey and having that background, which I'm assuming is probably pretty odd in Jersey, besides that community specifically, he probably had to grow some tough skin. So and him being a dad now, I'm sure a lot of his soy voice and stuff just come from being a dad, and now he's brought it to his videos, his channel. But yeah, it's funny if you go back. I don't know if you've been watching them since he started, but I've gone back and watched those old clips with like him talking to like Rob from Comics Explained, and it's like, yeah, this dude really is a comic artist. Like he was so timid, and he was just like, yeah, I'm in DC and stuff. I'm just kind of concerned about comics.
Yeah,
And now you look at him, he's like, he's fucking filthy blue-haired Landwell SJW. It's like, he is Trump for comics. He is someone that, like, you know, you fucked with him. You try to be nice, just like
Right.
Trump in 2012 when he ran. You know, he tried to run like legitimately and talk to the points and all this, and then it's like, well, it didn't work. And so he learned from his background in film and stuff and entertainment, and he brought that to the table, and he knew how what to pick. The emotional beats that have real politics behind them, the candidness, you know, and yeah, I feel like, you know, the SJWs, if you just fucking left him alone, he'd have half the audience or less. But you've made him, he's learned the sensationalism and he's crafted it to perfection, along with Twitter. You know, the one error he's had is people have subverted that kind of CNN versus Trump with Ranfamous and SJW Spider-Man have found some sort of clout. Otherwise, they get owned, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And yeah, I mean, I think when you get into the YouTube thing, you have to have an attractive personality. Like, you know, and none of us, I don't think, would be, well, we might be, but a lot of people I don't think would be the same way that you see us now if we just met, if we were hanging out and having dinner or whatever. You know, we'd probably, you know, we'd have the same opinions, obviously, but we wouldn't be as amped up, you know, because we get on here, we get passionate, and it's like, you know, it's our time to be passionate, and that's what we get to do. We get to talk and be heard, and when that happens, you get passionate, you know, and yeah.
Well, there's a way to be, and this is what I was talking to Angus about. There's a way to be passionate about what you're passionate about, but I think that all of us have this sort of like inner rage about how our entertainment has been handled. So the way to make that artfully communicative is to put on these personas and come out and speak to people. And that's not to say that we're not who we are inside our hearts, but it's just like people are going to relate to us like, oh, you're the fucking red Cobra Eye, and you're like a evil fucking Frosty, and then like there's, you know, I'm a Yellow Skull, and then there's like Angus, and there's, yeah, you know, fucking Logo, and so that's who we're going to be in the minds of people, even though that we know ourselves as men to be who we are. And I'm sure, like, if we had the opportunity to speak with any one of our fans or our listeners, we would be ourselves. But you know, this is what people are paying to come and see. So let's say all the fuck words and drink all the beer there is to be seen.
Right.
Yeah, I noticed in every stream I get on and every conversation I have with the Phantom Menace, all you have to do is bring up, how do you feel about The Last Jedi? And we all take it to the next level.
I think that was the impetus for a lot of us.
Yeah.
You know,
It was literally the turd in the fucking punch bowl. I mean, that's
Yeah.
ground zero.
It's
We
funny.
all had a
I
taste.
feel it started with Ghostbusters 2016. That was, if you know, some of us didn't catch it right away, but if you did, I think that was really the trigger. You know, the beginning of the fuse that was lit, and then of course Last Jedi was just the powder keg.
Yeah, a lot of people say that. And the second chapter in the Fandom Menace Volume 1 is Patient Zero, Ghostbusters 2016. I went back and looked at a lot of what people were saying and what was going on at the time, because I didn't catch that wave. I didn't care. I was like, yeah, I don't want to watch that. But yeah, I have to agree with you. That is a time when a lot of channels started standing up. A lot of people started standing up and saying,
Yeah, you
and
know,
pointing it out.
it's funny because some people in the chat know. I hate Ghostbusters. I've tried to watch. Well, I've watched it twice in this year. I think I've tried to see what people see in it.
Blasphemy.
I despise it. I'm like, I smirked at the card joke because he's, you know, going after the college chick and screwing with that guy. It's like, that's kind of funny.
Yeah.
But everything else, I was like, what the fuck is this supposed to be? Like, you know, the different elements don't work to me, and I don't buy the. I get the camaraderie and stuff, but it felt like just a very phoned in type of humor to me. But I get, you know, people love it. It's iconic and stuff. Me hating it, and even before I saw it, I just never had intention to see it. I saw the trailer before the Phantom Menace was ever a thing formed, before I followed anybody on YouTube. Because this is right after like Force Awakens. I saw the Ghostbusters trailer, and I was like, that is awful. Besides Chris Hemsworth, he had like the booby joke, and I was like, that was funny. And I was turned off back then. And looking back, it's like, wow, that was like this first wave in this where we're at now. It's like, wow, it's 3 years ago. It hadn't been that long either.
Well, and how is that attractive to people? You have the stereotypical black woman, right? What the hell is that? Isn't that what they're fighting against?
Who knows? I don't know what their tactics are. I mean, I don't know what their objective is, because they just seem to bite themselves in all the time. They seem to just contradict themselves constantly. With they're saying they're trying to uplift people and protect people, and then they use them as tokens, and give you the generic this or the generic that. Like Finn. Like Finn could have been a great character. Instead, he was a bumbling black guy in a sci-fi film. What the fuck are you doing?
Yeah,
right.
Now, Ghostbusters was the first instance that I can think of where the defensive mechanisms, as far as like pushback criticism, were relegated to the realms of well, you're racist, you're misogynist, it's like name calling instead of addressing the plot holes that existed, because that wasn't a funny movie. They're all supposed to be comedians. No, that wasn't.
Nobody wants to hear a queef joke. Nobody wants to hear a queef joke. Please don't do that.
No, and you turn Thor like Thor as the Big Lebowski was treated a lot more respectfully than this Mimbo that we were giving in Ghostbusters.
Felt like a Saturday Night Live skit.
Jesus Christ!
But he did it well.
The whole thing is like nobody's laughing with you. We're all laughing at you. You're not funny. This is just a fucking joke.
It's a van down by the river.
Hey, really quick. Have y'all? Nerdrotic tweeted out this stream, and then someone that follows Teehee Gal with the trans symbol said, "Great crew. I want to earn my place at the table." I was like, "Shoot me a DM, and I'd love to have you on." And then they tweet me this picture of my profile, and it says, "Caution: this profile may include potentially sensitive content." And there's like a warning, like, do you want to still see it? It says something like potentially sensitive images or language. I've never heard that, never seen this before, following one. And it's like, I don't know, maybe because I follow porn stars, maybe that's why, but I don't share any of it because I don't want people to be like, oh no, I see porn from Angus, gotta unfollow them. It's like, I just follow it, I like it, but I don't share
that might be it.
To be sensitive to people, but I don't know. I just never seen that. I was wondering if any of y'all ever experienced that.
No, I'm kind of new to Twitter. I just started using it once I realized the value of the outreach that you can get. So,
yeah, same here.
Yeah,
I don't watch nearly as much porn as you do, Black. So, no.
when I started Twitter, so the impetus for me to get on Twitter was funny. So, I'm a registered Cherokee of the Nation, Oklahoma, and
Salagi.
Yeah. Elizabeth Warren was like a hot topic at the time, so I was tweeting I was sharing an Elizabeth Warren meme, and it was her, and it said "The Trail of Tears, colorized circa 1832," and I thought it was funny. Then an army guy I served with in Drum, he said like "stole" or something on my meme, and I'm like, "You Indian giver," and it was just like a joke. And he knows my humor. I don't know. I don't think he would report me, but someone reported me for that, for hate speech. And
wow,
I actually got banned for a week, so I couldn't communicate with Rookie or Jeff the Iron Wolf because I was like right when I started with them. And I'm like, oh fuck. So then like I realized he was on Twitter, Rookie. So I was like, oh, I guess I'll start using my Twitter. And at the time, it was the NPC meme was like the hot thing where it's like, this is getting banned, but everyone was flooding the. So I kept following like NPC. Based Twitter handles and just loving all the memes I was finding and the content and the fake outrage that they would tweet. And
yeah.
And then I just realized like, man, Twitter is so much better than Facebook because I've been working for months trying to build my Facebook following on my page, but Facebook's freaking dead.
Yeah, I gotta say, ever since I got on Twitter, I'm on Facebook a whole lot less.
Yeah, Twitter's where it's at. It's a fun time.
Yeah, I've actually I've got to be up in 6 hours to build a store, so I'm going to have to cut out soon. But I did want to reach back to the conversation about EVS and give credit where it was due. I watched him grow his channel, like you said, just from a comics channel, into what it is now. And one of the things that I learned from him was you build your base first, and then you push your art, and then you try and do something with your art. And I've also watched as he's really reached out to other people in the Comicsgate community and just other YouTubers, and have really done what he can to use his elder statesman status to help elevate those people. And that's a value that is a core to the Fandom Menace, in my opinion, and it's something that really spoke to me, and is one of the big inspirations to me just writing this book and trying to do what I love for a living. So I just wanted to give credit to EVS for that.
No,
and say thank you.
Really quick before you go, Stephen. One thing, I see the utility of I see this project you're doing. It's like I gotta boost this guy with the following I have, and maybe we'll get seen. And Nerd Drug just tweeted out, streaming is boosting you, so hopefully that helps. More following. But you got a good project. I want to legitimize as much as I can. And also, it's funny because I saw some messages on the High Council yesterday. It's like, we need a film gate, and it's like, I'm actually working with Josiah Rises and Rookie Critic to start a film gate project.
Nice.
Twofold. Hopefully it'll be it won't be big shit unless you'll give us a lot of money. But I'm trying to be I don't have an idea to create right now besides my comic I'm slowly working on. But
if you guys need a writer or any kind of imaginative influence, please reach out to me. I'd love to help in any way that I can.
Yeah, I'm hoping to maybe kind of be sort of like EVS, at least be a facilitator for other projects where it's like,
right,
this will be like the first step. I'm like, man, you want to do a film gate project? You got to go hit up Black Angus,
Right.
That's my goal. And so I'm trying to be, it's really inspired because I've said this since December with that whole Star Wars theory thing with the copyright claim and all that. And I said, this is Hollywood orchestrating this. This is Lucasfilm teaming up with Warner Brothers to do this copyright and then to get us in their graces again. And then Captain Marvel happened and gave me more validity, and with the Rotten Tomatoes shit. And I was thinking about Jeremy always talking about Ryan Johnson, like put your, it's like be the change you want to see, and it's like, well, I want to see change in entertainment, escapist entertainment at least. And so it's like, you know what, like we just got to start doing it. Comicsgate has already started legitimizing this alternative take, so we need to be this alt movement, if you will. So
we're going to be. It's a wave, man. It started last year, and it's cresting over and over again. And it's growing and growing, and that's what it's going to be. And the culture that was created by the central voices of this movement, the ones that really just created it out of the ether of disenfranchised fans, their culture of helping others, respecting opinion, being able to debate. That those are foundational pillars to who we are. So anytime you see, and that was partly taken from Comicsgate. So every iteration, every expansion of our community that you see is going to have those values. It's going to be about helping people out, doing what's best for the community, and supporting one another. And I think that's a beautiful thing. And I want to do the same thing in a literary sense. I've reached out to Anthony Ergo. I'd love to do something with him, help promote him, whatever help he needs, and any other writers that are involved in our movement. Look at Ichibaka. He's doing such a great job on his website. I love some of the information that I got for my book. I went to his website for, so I didn't feel right not letting him know that, and then also giving his website a shout out in the book, because it's only right that we support each other as we fight against this ideological extremism.
Well, and I think even the idea of this, like the fandom collective, the fandom menace, like we're a group of people who were undefined by racial or political or whatever ethical boundaries. We're just a group of people who are dedicated to pure expression in the art form. So it's good that somebody is documenting this. Thank you, Steve.
Man, thank you.
Yeah, so everyone goes up to Steven. His link is in the description. And also look forward, like I was saying, I got this Filmgate project with Rookie and Josiah Rises. So look forward next week or two, hopefully, a video showcasing both of their pitches in our pitch for a funding campaign to come to YouTube on my channel, and probably multiple messages from me and from their channels. I'm hoping not just do this one pitch, but do multiple kind of like trailers where it's like we figure out, all right, this works, or maybe we pitch it this way. So it's not just one pitch, but it's gonna be for one funding. So hopefully, it's not just we can't just I came to the realization we can't just support the people we like from super chats. That gets kind of frivolous. We need to support something that will like be a legitimate testament to something our movement has created.
Yeah. And even if you can't monetarily contribute, talk about it, share it, like it, get the algorithm up, tell people that may be interested in it and be able to help support it financially. Everything helps. Just talking about it helps.
Support your favorite bigots.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Thank you all for coming. I'm going to have everyone pitch their channels while we're leaving. Thank you for coming in. If you're coming late like Goldfinger, definitely check out the stream from the beginning. And I appreciate your watch time, and go sub these guys in the panelists. Their links are in the description. Snowdub and Immortal, they're in the normal list when I upload. So yeah. So Red Gaze, start with you. Start pitching your channel before we head out.
All right. I mainly do movie reviews, a couple gun reviews here and there, as well as focus on some Comicsgate related issues. I'm trying to start a weekly Comicsgate video, just put out, showcasing the current projects and try to keep it as different as possible. There's a lot of talent out there, and I think people need to see it, and that's what I'm all about.
And this guy has been retweeted by Ethan Van Sciver, so he's good.
Oh, and might I just mention, our brother Blank Angus is in need of some watch hours. He's close to monetization. Help a brother out, put his shit on repeat, and go to sleep.
Thank you, man. Yeah, if I can get like, I don't know, get like 12 people for like, I don't know, 10 days, just play my shit on repeat while they're asleep, I think I'll get my watch hours in.
Yeah, and then don't just go to sleep all the time. Actually watch some of it because it's good.
I try. Thank you, man. I hope that plug I did for you helped you. I know it didn't quite help like I wanted with Immortal, but I try with people I
absolutely,
aren't
man.
getting the boost I think they need.
I really appreciate that. You've been probably my single biggest supporter, and I really appreciate it.
Yeah, bigot's a symbol.
Yeah, and it's cool meeting everybody else too, like Snowdub, starting to get to know you. Mortal, I don't really know you yet, but I hope to. Steven, you're all awesome dudes.
Yeah, me and
Thanks,
Mortal talk a lot off air, and then I'm starting to with Snowdub. So, when I become friends with you on here and you see them repeatedly on my show, it's there's a bond being built outside of YouTube.
Bigots United.
It's hard being Angus of colors, so you gotta,
So I've heard. I don't have the experience, but I've heard. I have a couple black friends.
I'm one of the whitest black guys you'll meet. Snow, pitch your channel.
Oh, okay. I am Snowdub Music and Entertainment. Our videos are, we consist of movie reviews, topics, trailers, stuff like that. We do the Jolly and Megs show, which is Megs is my co-host, so you need a hot blonde to look at next to a hilarious conservative blue puppet. You've came to the right channel, and we did this video not too long ago called the Phantom Menace Freestyle, which a lot of big channels noticed, like Ivan Ortega and Josiah Rises and Drunk 3PO and many others. And I always recommend checking that video out. We're actually working on a verse 2, Phantom Menace Freestyle verse 2, where we'll be popping off a few more channels. And if you want your channel mentioned in one of my little rap skit videos, let me know. You can either hit me up on Twitter. That's snow_/ whatever it's called, dub. And yeah, thanks, Angus. Appreciate it, man. I gotta admit, when you had me on last week with Jeff, my subs popped, and I really appreciate everything you do for me and the rest of the Phantom Menace. You're a huge contributor. Oh, and thanks, Steven, for writing the book, man. You're awesome.
Thank you for your support, brother.
Immortal.
Well, what's happening, YouTube? My name's Immortal Coil. I'm a happily adopted member of the Fandom Collective, which in itself is a spinoff of the Fandom Menace. It's funny, like I found Black Angus, like we found each other like right before Geeks and Gamers and the High Council started shouting out like, "Yo, this is the guy that you go to for like you know, your Hank Hill voice," but no, he'll boost your channel rating up, and it's not even like solely about numbers. It's about community, and it's about building a coalition of voices. And like he said, you know, we talk offline. We're buddies, and so it's like how you imagine the Beatles were. They're just like running around having adventures and like talking about what should go on. So I am ostensibly an entertainment critic. I talk about what's right and what's wrong in entertainment, but I also try to interject some, as Steven said, spiritual undertones into some of the subject matter that I cover, which isn't always easy because, you know, like everybody says, it's hard to find one person to talk to and understand yourself, let alone an audience. I just recently crossed 100 subs, and it was an interesting experience. As Snowdub said, standing next to me, who has 100 subs, Angus, who crossed 1,000 subs, and then Jeff, who has like over 100,000 subs. And I think it's just a testament to the type of message that we have and the fact that everybody is accessible to it. I think a lot of us feel disenfranchised by what we're being handed as far as product, no T, is concerned. But we now have a platform to push back, and stay tuned because things are about to get really interesting. Thank you, sir.
Awesome. And Steven, if you want to round us out, being the premier guest.
I appreciate that. And I appreciate all of you. And everyone here is a direct result of the culture that's been created by people like Jeremy Griggs, Jeff Hicks, Ethan Van Sciver, Mauler, people that have come together and have created a community just out of the ether of disenfranchised fans. The Fandom Menace Volume 1 is about the unification of people from several backgrounds, several areas of the world, languages. We cross all boundaries. And we are tired of getting served political propaganda in our entertainment. Franchises where once we would go and be entertained, something that would be used as a unifier is now being used by the elite to divide us, to keep us separate, so that we do not look around and see just another human being, or no matter who they sleep with, no matter what they do, so that we can continue fighting amongst ourselves. It's to keep our attention away from those at the top that are causing the true problems in our society. Our government works for us, not the other way around. And as long as we keep fighting amongst ourselves and we keep being distracted from the man behind the curtain, we're going to keep getting our lives run for us. The Fandom Menace is not a group of white, male, toxic, plus 40-year-old, overweight, hiding in their mother's basement, who are, in fact, Russian audience score Rotten Tomato bots. We are a very eclectic group of people, a very different group of people, and our beliefs that the culture, the foundation of our collective, which comes from Comicsgate and voices like those I have mentioned, is the reason that we support each other in our projects. Like, even if I'm not interested in something someone else in the Fandom Menace is doing, I will still share that information because that's helping the community, and that's what we're about, a real cohesive community, not division, not bigotry, not hate. This book will take place from the beginning of the Fandom Menace around, the ether of it, around the beginning of 2018, up until some events that occur today. I haven't covered everything that's happened because if this book does well, I'm going to do a volume 2. And volume 2 is going to focus on the second wave. People like these good people that have hosted me here today. The people who have been inspired by the culture that's been created by Geeks and Gamers, World Class Bullshitters, Comic Artists Pro Secrets, the culture that's been created and is pushed by Nerdrotic, Overlord DVD, Mauler, and all the other great channels that speak up in defense of our modern myths. This is something that we need to save. This is something that we need to give to our children, because these myths bring us together. They create unity. So if you decide to come and see my YouTube channel, I'm not really a YouTuber, but I have some advertisements for the Fandom Menace on there, and I'm learning bit by bit how to better do videos. So maybe I'll do a couple videos here and now. But I'm doing a lot of work into the book. I'm doing my own editing. I'm doing my own everything. So a lot of my energy right now goes into taking care of my home and my boy and editing my book. But I just wanted to say thank you to all you guys for bringing me in, because I've always tried to promote with this book a good culture, try to reflect the culture of the Fandom Menace, the Fandom Collective, which is help and support one another. And the bigger channels, I reached out to them, and either they weren't able to get back to me, or, being that they're growing, they have to really kind of make sure a person that's reaching out to them isn't freaking crazy. And I get that. But it's actually been channels like Black Angus and Lethal Lightning and all you guys that have really just propped me up and are supporting me, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate that. And I just want to thank each and every one of you.
Yeah,
Wow, man.
great time
Beautiful,
with
beautiful.
Wow, man.
Yeah, I got it.
Yeah, I just want to be clear. I liked your project and your channel and your edits with the music videos, but I didn't want to flood you, Fix, and we hadn't been familiar yet, but I still wanted to showcase you. So I really hope you didn't take that as like a diss or something.
Oh no, I really appreciated that. It gave me a chance to be on with Jeff. Are you kidding me? I was on a live stream for 10 minutes with Jeff Hicks. I've been listening to this dude. He read my Bob Iger letter. I love that guy. I love the whole world-class crew. No, that was great, because I've spoken with another YouTuber in that wheelhouse on the phone, and like I said, I had to be really professional because I was trying to pitch him an idea, so I didn't want to fanboy. Meanwhile, I'm like dancing under the fucking table, But
Stephen, you got to definitely do another surprise cameo too, like you did on Mary's stream today. That was great.
God, that was awful.
That was great.
Oh my God.
Yeah, sorry I set you up. For fire on that
That's
one.
okay. I was an idiot. I said, I see
almost
link. I
popped
click
in on
link.
purpose just to do it.
Yeah, I saw Vinny clicked it, but I think Mary kicked him right away. She's like, "Who the fuck keeps coming in my chat?" Like, but yeah,
She's all,
thank you all
Stephen,
again
how did
for
you find this?
thank you all for
Yeah.
coming, and we'll talk later. Come by Friday with my pre-Senate. I'll have Crystal McGee as a new guest on my channel for sure, and probably some of these bigots on here as well. So
Oh,
see you
Yeah,
Friday.
I certainly hope so.